Hey everybody, welcome to the Holy Koolaid and Craig Reed Justification for Religion After Show from the NonSequitur Show channel. The link to the actual discussion is in the video description. You want to go check it out first before you watch this. That's cool. We do have Craig in here with us, and we do have, I think, Holy Koolaid dropping by at some point. He's going to make a phone call. And we also got Kyle, if his mic starts working, and we got Bullinator, and maybe we might have Q Particle come in. He's got experience with science and stuff like that. And he might want to come in and add a little bit to the discussion because he watched the discussion. I don't want to really call it a debate. I know colloquially, any kind of discussion like this, people say, the debates. But personally, and this is just me, you guys can use any wording you want. I tend to avoid that word debate, except when there's a formal structure. Now, I understand people not necessarily have to hold to that. They'll call any kind of discussion informal debate. That's fine. I just personally use it the way I use it. And I think things like what we just had with Holy Koolaid and Craig was more of a discussion than a debate, even though there was some structure to it. But yeah, it's semantics, right? But anyways, Craig, I thought you did okay, except, you know, I really wasn't feeling where you were completely going with your counter examples. Right. And I got to admit, Holy Koolaid came out swinging, no doubt about it. Right. I mean, he came out of the gate fighting, but I really maybe give you a chance to kind of go a little more into detail to some of your counter examples to why you think religion is justified to still be in society. And by the way, welcome to my channel, by the way. I don't think you've been here before.
No, I don't think I have. Hello?
Yeah.
I don't understand the question. Which counter examples? I'm not even sure what.
Well, I mean, like, for example, and by the way, we are just having a casual conversation here. So like the kind of,
okay.
Well, I mean, he came out with examples of some of the atrocities of religiosity, some of the downsides. Right. And we all admit, I think anybody with any kind of honesty will say, yes, there has been atrocities committed in the name of religion. Now, right. I think that Holy Koolaid's argument is, and again, he's not here right now to actually suss it out more, but I think he would be okay with me saying that I think his argument is that overall, net-wise, if religion was removed from society, it would be more of a benefit to society than having religion in society. I think that's more his position, right?
Right, of course.
So what would be a good counterexample to say, well, this is why we need religion in society? And now
I was trying to address it more I wasn't actually, I didn't think that was useful for me to go example, counterexample. Here's the good deeds that the Christians did. I did a little bit of that. But what I was really trying to get at was that, the root foundation of the entire civilization is, I was trying to make a general argument that our Christianity or religion is one of the building blocks of our entire foundation of our civilization. And it's impossible to pull the baby out with the bathwater and say, like, well, this has nothing to do with Christianity. I'm not sure if I was making that case that well, but that was what I was trying. I was trying to make it more of a discussion about, I was willing to discuss it from the point of view of, is it? I wasn't trying to say it is. I was trying to say, well, let's really look deep and what is foundational to our society? Can you say that has nothing to do with Christianity at all? That type of thing. Does that make sense?
I get that. And I think there's obviously, we all recognize that historically religion has played a part in every society on the planet. I think there's been some type of religion has been affected the society.
Right. That's where I was going with that. But that's what I was trying to.
And I think that's a valid point to be made. However, one can say, yes, we have come from those roots, but is religion even necessary any longer? We all agree that without religion, I think initially science wouldn't even been formulated. I think the institutional facilities were primarily religious universities. If you wanted to have an education, you needed to also get a background in theology, correct? I mean, most universities.
Right.
So nowadays with secularism, you don't have that anymore. You don't have to go to a Catholic university to learn science and learn about Catholicism or any other type of religion. Nowadays, the argument is being made is technology is progressing such in a rate that all the explanations that we didn't know before, we're finding more and more explanations for, and it's kind of pushing back the need to have a God.
Well, that's the way. Well, okay, right there. I was trying to make a twofold twofold point. Yes, that's a common idea amongst atheists that, you know, we don't need religion anymore because we can figure it all out with science. So I was trying to make a twofold point, and I don't know if I was doing it successfully, but I was trying to say that religion, Christianity is so intertwined into everything that we are nowadays, even today, even in Norway, that Christianity is so rooted into our entire culture that it's impossible to discern what came from Christianity and what didn't, religion. And I was also trying to say that one of the foundational philosophical arguments of the Bible itself and Christianity itself is that we, human beings, left to our own devices, are fallen in nature and sinful in nature, and, you know, we would produce without appropriate. Religion is necessary as a moral restraint, and without a moral restraint on our behavior, we would produce, rather than utopia societies, you know, hell on earth society. So I was
don't
making
know if you can make that argument. Realistically, I mean, we know there are atheist societies that flourish, and we know that you could be moral without having religious beliefs. Matter of fact, the argument against that is that people that are really have high religiosity are tending to be some of the more moral people. I mean, I've asked people, look, if you didn't have a Bible, would you be out there raping, pillaging, and killing? And they'd be like, yeah, probably. And I'm like, then you have no moral compass. You know, and I don't think that's ubiquitous.
They're just trying to. They're not really. They don't really mean that. They're just. That's why I want to. I don't. A lot of times Christians, and I'll see them get in debates with atheists, and oftentimes they are just trying to win a point. They aren't trying to get at something true. Now that happened a little bit in our last 2 hours, and I was trying to avoid that, but it was impossible because it was point counterpoint. But getting. Most of the times when atheists are debating Christians, it's, you know, the Christian is usually just answering to try and close out the point, not necessarily get at something true. And that happens with the debate about
kind
hell
of a discussion to get to something true, is it not?
Yeah, but both sides are guilty of just trying to score points and not really, you know, converse. That's what there
might be something to be said for that in some discussions. I don't think that was Holy Koolaid's thing, though. I think he was actually trying.
No, I don't think I'm not faulting anything that happened. I thought the discussion.
Yeah,
he wasn't. I'm just saying,
Holy Koolaid's not the kind of person to throw things out there just to make points. I mean, that would be like a William Lane Craig thing. I think that he's only interested in winning a discussion and winning over the audience. He doesn't care whether I think what he's saying is sensical or not.
I meant when you say to somebody, what would you just say to me? You say to the Christian, could you be moral without God? And he says, no. No, he can't. He's just trying to win the point. He's not really thinking about it. He's just trying to win a point.
Because to me, that makes them look like they have no moral compass. We have a question, though, and I was going to ask this question during the discussion, but we didn't get to it. And I asked one from this gentleman, Trevor. Trevor's a big fan of my channel. Thank you, Trevor. He says, can Craig Reed give us time slice? In other words, a place or time when his religion, quote, got it right and needed no further revisionism. So I think what he's kind of asking is, you know, when have we looked and said, okay, religion has said this is the explanation for something, and they were correct in it in any kind of substantive way, you know, not just like a minor thing, but in a substantial way. What has religion added to our society that they got right as far as our knowledge base, if that makes sense?
No, it's not a science book. If he's talking about what you said was that, which is a no-brainer, you know, scientific progress started out, colleges and universities started out as, you know, theological institutions. So if he's talking about where, I don't fully understand the question. It sounds like one of these more tiring, you know, usual atheist questions.
No, I don't think it's like an atheist question. I think the question's sincere in the way it's being asked.
It doesn't sound it, but I'll entertain it. It doesn't sound it to me. But anyways, Martin Luther King Jr., the one I brought up in there. Now, I tried to argue that was foundational to what he achieved and accomplished, the Gospel of John and the teachings of Jesus Christ. Right there, I'd say that one. And then, you know, I could go through other things where there are really, really deeply religious people who impacted society, and how much Christianity or religion affected how they influence society. Who's to say? I would argue a lot.
Way the negative. I mean, we agreed.
Well, that's what we were trying to discuss. I don't know. I'm perfectly willing to have a conversation, but you know, the conversation has to include the positive.
Either way. Yeah, I mean, I think there's merits on both sides. I think if you want to make the argument, especially from religion, the culture, if you want to make, I think that would have been a best approach. If you want to argue religion in society, it's given us great amount of culture and music and art,
Exactly.
aesthetics, right? But that's value theory, and I think that would have been one way to go. But I think that when it comes to secular society, the way Holy Koolaid is looking at it is what has uh, religion given us in a way that we cannot come to by any normal non-religious means.
Right, but this is what I was trying to argue, and I'm not sure if I made the point. So I'll have to revisit this and try and make a better point of it, because this is a common. The argument the overall argument he was making is that we've arrived at a place in society where we don't need religion, and he was acting as if we got there from societies that were purely secular and they taught only secular lessons. And interwoven into the fabric of those societies, even the great Norway with the great secular paradise, interwoven into the fabric of Norway society today is, teachings of Christianity. And who's to say what books are written today, even secular books that aren't profoundly influenced by Christianity? Even the guy was debating, we find out he was raised a missionary. Who's to say? Elvis Presley. Who's to say how big of an influence religion was on him?
What moral thing can we have that we can say we can only get if religion is there? I mean, this is for arguendo. Say that there are moral truths. To say, let's even assume moral realism. I don't even care. I mean, I'm tending to go to moral error theory as more as I read into it. I find it interesting. But
what was that? Wait, what was the thing you just said?
I like error theory. Mackey's error theory.
Okay.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me from what I've been reading from people that know about error theory. It does make sense to me that you cannot, you don't really have moral facts. All moral facts are untrue because you cannot instantiate a property such as like wrongness in the sentence. Stealing is wrong because there is no real property wrongness. So that's an error that it creates. And so error theory would say that either all moral facts are false, but I think it's more appropriately from what I read into it, all moral facts are untrue. And there's a subtle nuance difference there, but it would fall under moral anti-realism more than anything else. But let's just say that there are moral facts. And so, what would there be such
can you just briefly, error theory is what you're saying, and just the briefest little synopsis of it. You just said it, but
error theory is basically that all moral propositions are an error.
Okay, go ahead.
They don't. There is no such thing as a true moral proposition. There are no true moral values.
And what's the reasoning behind it? Because thou shalt not steal, but this time you're stealing to feed your child, or what?
Properties which we can attribute to an object. Something like wrongness is called queerness, and it's nothing to do with what you think of. But the property, but it's called argument from queerness, and it just means strange. I like that. And the way it's a great argument actually.
You see the path to moral degeneration right there, the path to moral degeneration.
When somebody asks me what my reasoning is behind that, I'm going to start arguing from queerness.
Argument from queerness. I'm going to turn you up a little bit, Kyle. The argument from queerness is basically, like I said, it's just that more propositions are strange if we don't think of them as a way we do any other type of proposition. So the queer.
Yes, true. But then you went on and said that you weren't really arguing for it. You were going to say that there are such a thing as moral facts, correct? Moral facts,
but why would it matter from an atheist or religious point of view if we both can say, this is something we should not do? And I don't want to get into the whole Hume is ought thing because that's a whole different smorgasbord. But if you believe that there are some things that we as a society consider to be moral, and if you even want to go to like descriptive moral relativism, that's fine. It still is. We as a society have said this is what benefits us to do, and going around killing people, arbitrarily just because we want to go kill people.
It's not going to benefit society as a whole, unless you kill the right people at the right time.
That's a whole different argument. But Thomas, does that make sense? Would you agree that as a harm benefit type thing, that as a society we do kind of come as a collective and say this is probably not a moral thing to do?
Yeah, and I mean, my entire argument from the debate was that it's taken us a few hundred years to get there, but especially where we're at right now, we're using philosophy and we're using a scientific understanding of human nature to get us there, to figure out what is beneficial to society. And while the early building blocks may have been religious in nature, you know, we've gotten past that to the point where it's no longer needed.
And that's an argument to be had. And that's why I was talking to Craig before you came in. Even though we acknowledge the things that religion has given to society, I think the argument is going forward, is it something that still gives a net positive value? And I'm not quite sure.
An analogy I'd like to make is, you know, when we were trying to figure out how the planets move, you know, there were initial theories that tried to explain it, but they couldn't figure out, you know, why the planets were, you know, in what do you call it, retrograde motion or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then they, you know, our initial theories were supplanted by better ones. And then, you know, we got Newtonian gravity, we got, then we got Einstein's theories. And, you know, it's like the more that we learn about the world, we get a clearer picture and we build upon them. But that doesn't mean that the old, you know, our old understandings or our old speculations are always the best things to stick to. And I think that religion got us so far, and, you know, there were positive things that were done in the name of religion. There were positive things advocated for in the Holy Book. I never argued otherwise. But I think that we can do better.
Would you advocate, for example, let's say there was a complete secular society such that religion and the government and the school system were completely explicitly separated from each other, and people just said, you know what, I want to believe there's a God, I want to do these rituals, I'm going to do in my church on my own, I don't care if you go with me or not. Would you be as much against religion and society in that aspect as you are now? Because clearly there's encroachment. I mean, there's a huge encroachment on religion and society, and that's one thing I think most people in here, even Craig would probably agree with that. I think that most, even theists, would agree secularism is a good thing in society, because the chances are, if you have a theistic society, a theocracy of some kind, the belief that you have is not going to be the one that's prevalent, and so there's a danger for that, right?
I mean, I've advocated.
What's that?
I was just saying that sounds like an argument from queerness to me.
There we go. I told you, once you open that door, it's going to keep going back to it.
It's an argument from being fabulous. I mean, but
did he just did Kyle? You said don't open that door. Was it the back door?
Oh God! Oh man!
All right.
That is just. Oh man! This is just
downhill fast.
This is morally abominable. This is a moral abomination. This whole show.
No, it's not, Craig. Let me show you where the genius is here, Craig.
There's no genius here to be found. There's none. Show me. Show me the evidence, Kyle. There's
Show
none.
him the back door, Kyle.
All right.
Oh God! Stop.
Craig.
God help us all.
Hang on. Go ahead.
God
Kyle.
help these people.
Hang on. Go ahead, Kyle.
When Holy Koolaid brought
He's the
up
sweetest
10
cat in the world.
You remember
What's
the
that?
10 inches? You remember the 10 inches?
How could he forget it?
Aerosmith, big 10-inch record.
No. Don't play Koolaid.
Yeah, that's the song.
Hey, look.
Big 10-inch record.
This is an example.
They're playing off it the same way you are, in a really juvenile fourth grade way.
Kyle, your mic is really low, by the way. I boosted it up.
Yeah, no, turn it down.
This is an example
Or
of what religion has given us that's a positive. That would be you, Craig. You're a positive thing to come out.
Well, thank you, Kyle. That's so nice.
We like
that was awesome.
So let me get my dirty joke out of the way.
I got a question for.
Wait, I got a dirty joke. You guys want to hear it?
Yes, I want to hear the dirty joke.
All right, let me tell you the dirty joke, folks, because it's already going downhill. So this is the Holy Koolaid. Hey, Holy Koolaid, what's the difference between oral and anal?
I'm not sure. I want to know.
One makes your whole day, and the other one makes your whole week.
I can attest to that.
There you go. That's my dirty joke for the week. Sorry, guys. We already demonetized. What the hell?
I thought it was demonetized because of this filth. Were you really?
Dude, I don't know.
See, Steve, I held you to higher standards. I thought that it was going to be like a joke about like Brownie in motion.
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was going to be like.
Okay, I'll give you.
I thought it was going to be very intellectual, Steve. I held you to higher standards too. I'm shocked and appalled at where you have taken this conversation.
Here's an intellectual joke.
I, for one.
We don't serve time travelers in here. A time traveler walks into a bar. Dun, dun.
Wow.
Wrap your head around that one. Okay, whatever.
That's pretty
You guys
bad.
are a tough motherfucking audience.
No soap radio. No soap radio.
Steve, I wanted to answer your question though. You asked me if I would be as opposed to religion if it wasn't stepping on so many toes, and the answer is you know I've consistently on my channel I've said that on and off my channel, that while I may disagree with someone's perspective, I'll still fight for their right to hold that belief and to have free speech. And so, I've got nothing against freedom of religion. Most of my family is religious. In fact, almost all my family is religious. I'm the lone outlier. And even still, I'm like, they have their right to those belief systems, but there is massive encroachment.
Yes.
And there is just especially, and I don't want to get too political, but especially within the conservative party, they pander to the churches. The Democrats do too, to some extent, because it is a big voting bloc, but it's not as big for them as it is for conservatives.
I don't think that's too controversial a statement. I think you're right.
But
on that.
you see just this.
The Democratic Party is becoming more secular, a lot more secular over the last 8 to 10 years, because they did a lot more overt courting of religion in times past.
Yes,
that is going to bear out politically. That is going to bear out. I'm a Democrat, but that is going to make a big difference going forward. And you can make a case that had a lot to do with the victory of one Donald Trump. He was heavily supported by the evangelical community. Would he have had that type of support if the Democrats hadn't been gradually shifting into a more secular friendly party, where there was even stuff like, I forget what was the thing that happened at the Democratic Party where they were like,
But how ironic is that the evangelicals supported Trump? I mean,
yeah, a guy.
There's an irony in that, but are you guys? I'm assuming you guys are all Democrats. Is that true?
No.
Hey.
No.
Fuck yeah, we are.
No, I'm not.
no, I'm not.
Kyle's not.
I tend to be a libertarian.
Are you serious? Cool,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
That's
here.
hardcore. That's like right wing in a fun way. That's like right wing.
That's the fun
Right
wing.
That's the fun right winger. The Rand Paul right winger.
Yeah.
Here's what I want my government to do.
Do you watch Alex Jones?
No.
No.
I want them to fill potholes and give me health care. That's about all.
Yeah, that's a good. You know what? Socialization for that. When you were talking about, a socialized society, that's what they should be doing.
That's unrealistic, though.
Filling potholes? They already started.
Yes, doesn't happen.
We have socialized road.
No, that is unrealistic. Steve, you should see my neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
I got a question for Craig though. We talked earlier about how they, how scientific progress has changed our knowledge of things, and then we get to like the internet age, and it seems like there's this resurgence of old ideas. You got young Earth creationism, you got flat Earth, you got all these ideas that we've overcome them in the past, and all of a sudden they're coming out again, and it's like, what is it possible that maybe that's a negative of religion that we could do extremely without? Is that maybe an argument for something that we really could do without, as far as religion goes? Because a lot of those arguments are based in religion, from what I can tell.
Right, but see, this is the thing where I was trying to make the broader point. You're arguing a specific strain of ignorance is religious based. I don't necessarily find that. Young Earth creationists, the reason why internet age has produced more young Earth creationists is that it hasn't. It's just like the game Diplomacy. Have you heard of the game Diplomacy? I play it now online. Prior to the internet, I only played it once in my entire life because there was so few people who played it in any given town or group of people I knew. I'd never meet a person in real life who played it. But online, it's easy to find them. That's why the young Earth creationists are out. Because, there's one out of every 100 in every community, and now they hook up together on the internet.
But Craig,
so that doesn't that doesn't have anything to do with religion.
It's more like 30%.
Yeah,
there's 40% among church-going Christians.
Right.
It's among people who go to church every week.
No, dude, Pat Robertson isn't even a young Earth creationist. He'll tell you.
I think this was 2014 Gallup poll. 45% of regular church attendees were young Earth creationists who
or at
attended
least
on a
question
weekly
the age
basis.
of the
But you got to take those polls with a grain of salt, because how they ask the question is how you get the answer.
Okay, fair enough. But
there's
Craig,
a lot of people like my wife who, if they say, If they ask her a certain question and she thinks the answer is pro-Christian, she's just going to go yes, period.
No,
she's not going to go.
I agree.
You see what I'm saying?
But,
especially if it's being asked by, like, you know, a secular atheist
Craig,
type person. She's going to go, yes, I'm with the church. Go ahead.
Do you agree the overall damage being done to education by young earth creationism is substantial? Because I've seen firsthand that have gotten to. I've seen this happen on multiple occasions. This is not one-offs, and because I get a lot of messages from people, and they hundreds of people have told me similar stories. They get to college and they feel like they've been hobbled.
I know that for a fact. All right, I can talk about that. Hold on.
That was me right here. Case in point.
I agree with that, and actually, a girl I know well, who at one point was my assistant, started out as a kind of atheist and then became my assistant. So that can happen. That can happen, Kyle. Door's always open, and not that door, so cut it out.
Look, buddy,
is that another argument from queerness? What I missed?
I've been there first. I was there first. I decided to take the back door anyway.
Yeah, but she was homeschooled, and another guy I knew really well, atheist, was homeschooled. And in her particular case, the reading list was like appalling. It was you know, kindergarten level. It was nonsensical, and you know, I'm not for that. I'm not for training up Christians to be ignorant idiots at all. I'm fairly well educated myself, and you know, I'm in favor of educating Christians so that they can hold their own and don't look like imbeciles when they're debating atheists. You know, so I'm not for that. But I recognize that is destructive to some degree. I'm very pro education, pro learning, wherever the truth may take you.
I very much respect that in you, and I think that we need more Christians. Instead of 45%, we need 0% that accept young earth creationism. But the fact is that they get it from their Bible, from a literal interpretation of their Bible, and that subset does exist. And I think what we're trying to point out is that when we distance ourselves from that aspect of religion, then there is a net positive result that comes from it.
Yeah, that connection cannot just be overlooked.
Okay, but you're distancing yourself from ignorance, and I'm with you. Totally distance yourself from ignorance. Educate. The Bible.
I would argue that all religion is ignorant.
I cut out just at the good part.
He said he would argue that all religion.
I would argue that all religion is ignorance.
And I would not. So there you go.
And then pass.
What was I going to say?
By the way, we should acknowledge there is a difference between having a God belief and religion. They're related, but not entirely the same thing. Religion is actually the procedures you go to by, you know, showing your belief for something that you know your cultural things that you do. Religion is more of a thing of an action type thing. I go to church, that's a religion. Yeah. If I worship,
I had a deistic phase.
Did you really?
Yeah, I mean, I went through a phase from, you know, young earth creationists to old earth creationists who believe in evolution, to not everything in the Bible's literal, including hell and whatnot, to, you know, well, maybe there's a God that exists that is kind of deistic, but he doesn't really interact with us, to agnostic to atheist.
You know, that's not an uncommon path that I've seen for atheists, actual positive atheists. They've actually started off with really extreme religiosity, young earth creationism, and then kind of just step by step go over a period of time, go into different phases, and end up on the vast far extreme. Some of them even anti-theists. So that's not uncommon, is it?
And it's actually out in the private conversation, like after we ended our debate. But I talked to Craig over Skype, and I said, like, I want to make a point that, like, while I do come out pretty hard against theism, I'm not anti-theist, like, against the people themselves. I have a lot of religious family and friends, and I think most of them are good people. You know, yeah, it's a small distinction, but it is a very important one.
I think it's a huge distinction to be made. When people say anti-theist, I don't think anybody means they're against the person. They're against the theist.
Some people.
Yeah, I mean,
well, anti-theist is usually.
I think that they shouldn't think that way. That's not what anti-theist means.
There is there's a small subset of atheists who are indistinguishable from haters in any other format. And I've dealt with them. They'll come at me and they'll ascribe to me all manner of beliefs that I don't have. Never ask me what I believe about anything.
Welcome to my world. I get that a lot.
Well,
a lot.
Right, but I'm saying, so there's a group of Christians too. That's
And
totally
it's not just me, but the other people, like, look, I know people that are actual full-on positive atheists, and they still get saddled with all these other things. Oh, you're an atheist. You must be a materialist. Oh, you must be a mythological naturalist. Oh, you must be
a moral relativist.
Moral
nihilist.
Exactly. You get saddled with these things, and it's like, I don't understand that.
You believe
Regardless
in
of how you want to take what
Darwinism.
atheism means, it still only deals with one freaking thing: the existence
Yeah.
of God. Period. That's it. That's nothing else.
Right.
Would you agree on that? By the way, Thomas, that
Yeah,
atheism just deals with God.
I mean,
That's it.
there's a usual yeah, I mean, totally, but there's a shortcut, let's say, where if I were talking to a fresh atheist, fresh off the atheist trail, I'd make a couple of educated guesses at the things that they believe about certain things, and 85% of the time I'd be right.
That might
I
be
wouldn't
true.
necessarily.
That might be true.
I wouldn't necessarily. I don't know about the moral relativist. Isn't that changing? Isn't Sam Harris not? And maybe Matt Dillahunty. I'm not sure at this point. Is he not a moral relativist?
I don't think either of them are. But one distinction I'd like to make is that, like, if you were to point to an atheist in the U.S. that was predominantly Christian and is now, people are coming to atheism through, a discovery of science and realizing certain conflicts between their literal interpretations of their religious text and what science is teaching us. There's a big distinction between that and kind of this inherent atheism that is really common throughout, like, most of China, where they're just kind of raised with it. And so if you go there, you really can't tell anything about what someone believes about their political persuasions. Well, I mean,
right, yeah, no, that's probably true.
Communists, but
yeah, it's a lot more
probably
true
true
in other places. Sure.
Yeah, that's definitely true. That'd be a very interesting case study to because that's a totally different thing. Most of the people who are atheists in the United States have at least come at it organically to some degree or another. They kind of grew into it from, were led to it by their beliefs. In China,
even comparing it to Canada, there's a lot more born and raised atheists there than there are here.
Yeah, and
South Park did an episode about that.
South Park.
South Park again.
But I think the takeaway
I can't believe you're bringing up South Park when I'm trying to talk about what am I doing?
Craig, I think the takeaway is that you don't attribute positions to people unless they tell you that's their position. That's the takeaway.
Of course, but everybody makes shorthands. Just like if you go to Italy, and people go, "What is it? What are Italians like?" You go, "Oh, they're really fun, and they talk with their hands, and it's very gregarious." You're gonna meet the one sourpuss Italian
in one of his papers. Am I agnostic or am I atheist, depending on where I'm at? And he made that very point. But I like people to give me their positions. I don't like to say, "Oh, well, Thomas is an atheist, therefore he must be a moral relativist." Well,
people do the same thing with politics. If they hear that you're conservative, they're like, "Oh, you also love guns." It's like, well, those two aren't necessarily related. Correct. It's like you might be small government or big government, or you might be
Exactly.
And actually, that's been shaken up a lot. It used to be such a thing as a by the numbers conservative. Meant I can tell you what they believed on 85% of the things. Guns, this. But now that's not true anymore. There's a whole Trump actually is a big part of it.
Part of it too is
and the libertarian movement.
Liberals, especially progressives, have been pushing so far to the left, and conservatives have been pushing so far to the right that there's a lot of people who kind of get caught up in the middle.
I said the same thing the other day. Why can't we get back to the middle? It's comfortable here. You don't have to be on either side of the extreme.
Because social media platforms create
social media
chambers.
Exactly.
It's built in.
It's ridiculous.
Exactly. They exacerbate, and they also, it's much easier to get attention if you're a loud, strident voice. It's much easier to come up through the ranks as a loud, strident,
like an holy Koolaid.
Exactly. I'm trying to have a peaceful conversation. The holy Kool-Aid's all like, "What? Religion sucks. I'm going to kill you." Exactly.
Which is funny because
he's got 40,000 viewers. I've got 2. I got 2 people watch my videos. He's got 40,000. See the difference? I'm trying to be reasonable. Can we all just get a lot of people?
It's funny because while I provide quality, heated viewing entertainment for the Non-Sequitur show, on my personal channel, I have been told that I'm one of the most peaceful, non-confrontational.
I agree. Very zen. I watched some of your personal videos. I'm like, this guy's going to be really fun. He's mellow.
Next time you do this, you have to come on camera, man, because I would have given anything to see your face when Holy Kool-Aid came out like that, because it shocked even me, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know if Craig's ready for this."
Well, I was told last second that it was a debate, and I was like, "Oh crap, I gotta pull out the big guns last minute." Because last time that I came into a debate unprepared, it was the the Gret Glyer one. I thought we were going to have a chill conversation, and he was like all ready to debate.
He came out swinging hard.
I got my ass kicked in that one, so like I was.
Who is
I was
he?
prepared.
Greg Geiler. It wasn't so. I don't think. No, I wouldn't say you got your ass kicked. I do maintain you guys were on such different
past
pages.
each other. I wasn't ready for a full blown debate.
And I that's why at the very beginning of that discussion, I really wanted to clarify the terms because I knew going in there was going to be a problem with how you looked at some of these terms and how he does. And I knew both of the ways that these terms are going to be looked at. And I wanted to get you guys on the same page, and it just kind of wasn't happening. And when you're dealing with subjective and objective morality, it's not an easy topic.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I noticed.
But it's good. It's actually a really, really good one.
It was a fun conversation.
We could do that one anytime.
One thing I noticed about social media platforms, though, is it's especially with the just the internet in general, not even social media specifically, but it's kind of like how etiquette has come about. Like telephone, like people didn't know how to use telephones for a long time because telephones were new. So like there's a certain etiquette applied to telephone. Well, we haven't actually come up with the etiquette for very long. Like the internet and social media is a very new thing. So you've got these things like snipers, and you've got trolls, and you've got all these new concepts that weren't around 20 years ago or even 10 years ago.
Right.
And so now we have to come up with rules about the internet and internet etiquette and internet ethics.
But don't those do those kind of grow organically from the users themselves?
They do in a lot of cases, and it's just one more thing because religion is not playing a part in that because you have people of all religions on the internet.
Mm-hmm. Sure, but look when sniping came around, David. When sniping first came around, and by the way, my channel was one of the first, if not the first, the second, I think, to get sniped. Wolf's, I think, was the first, but one of the first channels to get sniped. We as a group, as a collective, as a hive mind, I guess you will, we determined sniping is bad, right? We didn't need a holy book to tell us that this was unethical, this was shitty, that somebody can come in, ruin a hangout, take over a hangout, 5 minutes of uninterrupted, whatever they want to do with the hangout. We determined this was an unethical behavior, and we as a group said people that sniped are not welcome into hangouts, right?
Yeah, that just got really weird. We just went from the Bible conversation to trying to prove sniping in the Bible. How did we get there?
I think it's a very good analogy because there's a lot of things in the Bible didn't even think of, that are addressed and that we have to deal with as a society nowadays.
Well, the Bible never tells you not to rape.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. The Bible doesn't tell you to go surfing porn either, or you can't do that.
I would have broken that long ago if that were the case.
The internet, the whole internet was created just for that, was it not?
Yeah, I mean that's why they put
for surfing porn.
That's why they put
that song. The internet is for porn by Hoof and somebody else. It's a great tune. Go check it out.
That's right. That's why when they put color screens on phones.
Don't you dare, Craig, act like that's a thing to you. I know you might be Christian or whatever, but don't act like that's a thing.
Yeah, the Bible Belt has the highest people watching.
That's a thing for me in terms of what? Like I'm shocked and appalled that you went searching porn. Like I never would have guessed it. What do you mean? I'm not sure what you mean. I would have guessed it, Kyle. I thought better of you until you mentioned that you surf porn. Now I'm shocked and appalled by your behavior. Sorry. I won't pretend.
I'm shocked and appalled that you're pretending like you haven't.
That I'm what?
Do they make
what's the matter with this mic?
Do they make crucifixes that are ribbed for your pleasure?
Yes, they do, I'm sure.
Oh.
Ever since the Exodus
door. What was the question?
I don't know what sniping is, just so everyone's clear. I have no idea what that means. What does that mean, sniping?
Okay, you remember the backdoor analogy?
Yes, vaguely. Tried to forget it, Kyle, but I remember it.
Sniping is when somebody gets a hold of the link to join a Google Hangout, and they can actually come in and by using it's actually a design feature, but we call it a bug. But Google thinks it's a design feature. You can remove anybody from the Hangout without having mod control, and including the person hosting it. And so it effectively shuts down the Hangout because if the person who's hosting it gets kicked out, it's 5 minutes and then it goes off air. And in that 5 minutes, that person could do whatever they want in that Hangout, and it could be porn bombed. It could be
weird. And this was a thing. This happened.
Still is.
Still is. I could take Steve out right now
He
if
could
I
take
wanted.
me. He could take my ass out right now.
Wait, you mean I can
Weird.
do that?
Yes.
Oh man!
Look how excited!
Yeah,
Look how
exactly.
excited he got on
It's
that.
over.
Wow.
Hangout's over.
I'm just gonna start playing Holy Kool-Aid videos for 5 minutes.
Look at that Holy
5
Kool-Aid
minutes of
spider.
advertising. It's funny because you actually gave me your stream key a while back during the R and Raw debate, and I totally could have just been live streaming to your channel without
That
you
was
knowing
me.
about it.
That was me.
Hey, let's put it this way: when we give out a stream key, that's like the ultimate in trust.
But see, that's just an example
hand
that
drop.
you don't have to be religious to be trustworthy.
Right. Well, honestly, I mean, this sounds
You have
weird,
to be
but
desperate for somebody to stream.
I have seen more integrity from more atheists than I have evangelistic people by far. I mean, in fact, the evangelistic people are the ones that kind of turn me away from religion because I think they have the most unethical things I've ever seen. I mean, they just go out of the way to do unethical things.
I think that
seems.
there's
Present company excluded.
But
Present company excluded.
I want to make
Of
a
course.
I want to play the devil's advocate kind of as a caveat because when I was religious, like I did have kind of
He was
a
good again.
moral. Well, I did have a moral aversion to lying, but at the same time, like there were certain things that were almost superseded that. So like if you were lying in order to win over someone's soul, where maybe you exaggerated a testimony or something like that, then it's like, well, the end justifies the means. And so like I saw that a lot within the Christian community where they would never steal or they would never, be dishonest. But it's like, well, if it's, kind of stretching the truth just a little bit because you don't want, or covering up something that, some scandal that happened by some pastor or preacher, then like that was okay because, it's for God's glory and to win over people to Jesus and to protect the faith.
Yeah, but I have a problem with that. So.
Yeah. Well, I do too, which is one reason I'm an atheist now. I couldn't square that circle. I don't know.
Let me ask you this, Thomas. Let me ask you this question first. Is there ever a point to where you think it is okay to lie?
Yes. Oh, you asking?
Whoever.
Oh, I'll say definitely. Absolutely, there's points to lie.
Have you, Steve? Have you read "Lying" by Sam Harris?
No.
He makes a very strong case for honesty, like pretty much, almost 100% of the time.
Yeah, no, okay. Look, I do agree. Ubiquitously, it should almost be. But look,
I think that there's times where if you can't, you don't want to incriminate someone, you can plead the fifth.
But Thomas, if I say, look, I want to have a surprise birthday party for you, and I need to keep you in the dark, and say, hey, I'm Thomas. Hey, let's go do something real quick, and you say, hey, what's going on? And you're like, oh, nothing. We just want to do this. And I'm lying to you to make sure that you don't find out about the party. Does not make me a liar. Right?
Or
there's a big
what I was
difference
gonna say
though.
is if you go to like somebody's house to eat and they say that they spend
exactly, food's great
for you, and then after dinner they ask you how it was and you hated it.
Yeah, I think little white lies are fine.
But what if let's say that person who made you dinner, you say it's the most amazing dinner ever, and then they go and they cook, in some cooking show or for some,
well, then
some
they get
percent
fucked.
that and it's not good.
Yeah, exactly. Tell the truth. No, it sucks.
No,
it sucks.
Terrible. I think there's. Look at when your wife says, "Do I look fat in these jeans?"
I was just going to use that one. Do I look fat in these pants? You go, no. Why would you ask that? You look gorgeous.
By the way, we have a super chat.
That's a noble cause, but it's not practical.
But you can lie so thoroughly.
Everybody who's ever been married knows that there is no correct answer to that question.
By the way, there's a super chat.
The fifth.
Steve, thanks for the super chat. He says, so you can get super chat on NSS. We're working on that. We have Streamlabs. We have Streamlabs for the Non-Sequitur show. So if you want to donate to this Non-Sequitur show, do it through Streamlabs because YouTube is being, how should I say it, shitty at the moment. Is that a good way to put it?
Well, what, demonetization?
They're backlogged.
No, they're backlogged.
We fit all of their
criteria.
Yeah,
it's just said that they won't get to their applications that they have now until the end of April. So hopefully soon.
Probably because they shafted all their creators that had the subs, but not the hours. And now that they got the hours built up, all these people want their money back.
People are not happy with that. Anyways, Quester Q.
What's up?
Hey, buddy, how you been?
Man, been doing good. Crazy.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm glad you can actually drop in for a change. You guys don't remember? Yeah, you guys won't know Q, would you? They won't remember you.
No, I fly off the radar.
Yeah. But we're gonna
Can
have
I-
her. We're gonna have. Hang on one second. We're gonna have her hang out one day.
That wasn't me.
No, that was Thomas.
That was me.
Yeah.
I
But
say Kyle.
if you guys are interested, Q and I, we're gonna have a discussion on. I think we were talking about local realism, and
Yeah, I believe so,
bohemian mechanics, maybe, or something along those lines.
I think so. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever even heard of Bohemian Mechanics, so that might be a fun one.
Versus Copenhagen.
They were acting.
Maybe
Did they undergo a rhapsody?
No, this is like sciencey stuff, physics stuff.
Non-locality.
Okay, we just lost our entire audience. Thanks very much.
It just got really awkwardly quiet real quick.
I'm sorry. It's like one subject. I like fundamental particle physics too.
I believe Thomas had a point.
No, I was just gonna brag for a second and say, like, I have the most amazing girlfriend. She just made me food and brought me beer.
Cool.
That is pretty cool, actually. I got beer, but I don't have a girlfriend.
Keep her.
I'm jealous.
Yeah.
I've just got Craig.
Oh,
Craig. My wife used to bring me vodka. Used to have a bottle of vodka waiting for me, and she used to go to get me a turkey burger from this place down the road.
Vodka and turkey.
Waiting for me.
no, not Bohemian Rhapsody, guys. No, Bohemian Mechanics. I like pilot wave theory. I mean, I think it uses more assumptions than needed, but I think it works. Right, Q? Would you agree? I think pilot wave theory works.
It works. Yeah, it works. So,
but it tends to lead to like a determinism, huh? Like a hard determinism.
A little bit, yeah. I would say so.
What does Q know? He just has a PhD in
the last
physics.
time we spoke, though, we were talking more of string theory and the math behind that.
Yeah, so I need to finish the cosmic landscape though, because I was going to get Susskind involved. I have a direct connect to Susskind, I think, and before I did that, I had to really like brush up on string theory because I know as much about it as I do cooking, absolutely nothing. So, yeah, I don't know anything about string theory. I'm not going to front.
Yeah, who would be good to ask about that is King Crocoduck. He's pretty knowledgeable about M theory and string theory.
Oh yeah, no, I'm going to include him too.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. But I just find it to be a fascinating subject.
I like it. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
So anything new in the realm of particle physics? Anything like new and exciting?
So a lot of theoretical talk. So I wouldn't say anything new and exciting. No, I mean it's all exciting, right? So you're constantly trying to find that objective reality that we all diligently seek after. But I don't know.
Somebody said they think string theory is misnamed, and I'm not quite sure. I don't mind calling it a theory because it is a mathematical theory. It's not a physical theory like general relativity, but string theory is a mathematical theory, is it not?
Well, yeah. So you would be talking about, we're talking about theorems, the difference between theories and theorems, and I think people need to understand, when in the scientific world, when people use the term theory, they're not talking about a guess. It's not the same as a hypothesis. So yeah.
But I think the argument against it is that, generally speaking, when you're dealing with a scientific model, theories are confirmed models, and obviously string theory is not confirmed, but it's still a mathematical model.
Right. So the theory has explanatory power in it, so we're able to make predictions based, on the models that we have. Therefore, it's a theory. So it's not a theory as in this is what we think.
But it hasn't been confirmed, though.
Correct. Yep.
That's the objection. Don't call it a theory until it's confirmed.
Yeah, it's a hypothesis until you have confirmation. Then it becomes a theory.
And I think there's valid criticism.
Can I also make a point too that like there is no point at which a theory becomes a law. You have yes, you have the law of gravity, but it's within the Newton's gravitational theories or Einstein's theories.
Right. I don't know where anybody ever got that idea that somehow a theory became a law. I've never ever in anything I've ever read have I ever seen that except for like creationist material.
Yeah, that's like Hovind talk, Hovind speak.
So somebody want to know about the Higgs boson. So tell us about the Higgs field, since we're losing our audience anyways because they don't want to talk about it.
I got a jet, guys. It's a It's 8 my time.
All right, Craig. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for being on the Non-Sequitur.
Hey, thank you. Anytime. Seriously, any if you guys have malfunctions like that other time,
Sure.
DM
We'll
me.
keep you on the
I could be
fluffer,
on.
sure.
Definitely.
I could be on in like 20 minutes, 5
Awesome.
minutes.
Yeah. Hey, I just
right,
want to
guys.
say thank you for joining earlier and whatnot. So it was fun.
Yeah, he held his own.
Yeah,
I
it was
give him props
really
for that.
good.
Yeah.
It was really good. Thank you, guys.
See you, Craig.
Have a good night.
Too, Craig.
You
as well.
lost connection.
Can I ask you guys before it kind of trails off into
Sure.
topics like M theory that are completely underqualified to talk about? But how did I, if you were to kind of analyze, my performance on the debate and like what I could have done better, what points I missed, any feedback is appreciated.
I'll give you a 2.
Out of 100?
100 at least, yeah. I'm only saying that because I've seen how Kent Hovind is, and unless you match that level of just grace and charm.
As you stand in front of the monkeys, elephants, the pine trees.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I was impressed. I had to talk to Kyle prior to this, and I wasn't sure what the topic was going to be. More along the lines of religion justification, or is it ever justifiable to have a religious belief or a theistic belief? Because that's a totally different concept, right? And I think I was telling him that I thought you would have a very difficult case to make by trying to argue it's never justifiable to have a God belief. That would be a very hard mountain to climb.
But what did I say? I said, no, he's a killer. He'll be fine.
But that wasn't the topic, right? That wasn't the topic. And so the way you came out with examples about if religion is a overall net negative as an overall net positive, I think that you were right on the mark. I think that you came out with the actual reasons why you believe religion as a whole has a net negative effect.
Well, that's why when you asked him initially, you asked him to open, and I was like, crap, we're gonna descend into like these straw men, because he doesn't have a like, I couldn't find his channel beforehand. It turns out he does have one, but I didn't even know the topic of the debate until literally today. I see like a post on Twitter, and I'm like, oh crap, it's a debate. Like, I didn't even realize. I thought I was just.
Let me clear up, by the way. That was completely my fault. I apparently thought that I had told Holy Koolaid who he would be debating, because after I talked to Holy Koolaid when we set this up, I went straight over to Craig and sent him a message and said, look, we've got Holy Koolaid. We're going to have him on for a discussion. Do you want to come on and do that? Apparently, I meant to go back to you and let you know that stuff, and didn't. And so we just thought we would write it out and just surprise you when you got here.
Well, I'm normally hesitant with debates because, like, depending on who I'm talking to, oftentimes it turns into a shit show.
Yeah.
And I wanted a productive conversation, but when I heard that I was debating someone and I knew nothing about him, then I was like, okay, I really have no idea what to expect, and I don't want to be completely blindsided. So I did kind of come in, guns blazing, and I did prepare like an opening statement. And when he said he wasn't really ready to do an opening statement, I was like, okay, I'm jumping on it, because that allowed me to set the course of the entire debate, rather than having a straw man of like, well, Hitler was atheist and resorting to like Godwin's law, or something like, no, and Stalin and all these, governments were atheistic. I was literally able to completely wipe out that line of argument within the first 2 minutes of the conversation, and focus on, are there humanistic, secular alternatives to religion that avoid all of the craziness and the atrocities that are done in the name of it.
It was a nice surprise, because I thought you would come out like you do on your channel, very
mellow
and kind of approach it that way. But when you came out like that, I was like, oh, this is
no. I would be critical of Thomas if I thought he did poorly. He knows I don't pull punches, and I thought he did exceptionally well. I was like him. I wasn't sure what the topic was going to be per se, but I'm glad they both kind of sussed it out. But I think what's more interesting was SJ in the live chat. She was so pro Craig. No offense, Craig. She was really pro you. But when I asked her, really, I was kind of like, well, what's Craig's argument? I wasn't really getting much of an answer.
Well, we understand that, SJ. You brought him to us, so that's a
I admit, she's obviously going to have favoritism, but I don't know if she was really, looking at or listening to what we were listening to.
Well, she
I'm
can't.
not saying Craig did a bad job. Craig, I don't think that, but I mean, it was just I didn't see what your full line of argumentation was. Your counter.
Technically, she can't agree with Holy Koolaid, or that would render her faith null and void. She can't admit that there's a point on that side, because then it would bring in the whole doubt thing. So
that's a shame. I see. Yeah. I like being able to admit if either side makes a fair point. I think that's the point of being objective. You got to be able to say, you know what, I may not agree with that point, but you know what, that's actually an interesting point to make and talk about.
Well, and here's the thing too, is like when I'm making a one-on-one conversation, I'm talking to someone and trying to kind of win them over, I'm going to resort much more to like street epistemology and be like, asking them questions, Socratic method, really like calm, peaceful, it's not me versus you. I'm trying to kind of maybe get you to think about this stuff a little bit rather than reacting emotionally to some hostile confrontation. But when I'm doing a debate like this in front of hundreds of people or potentially thousands of views,
we had 5 viewers.
Dozens.
Yeah, we had 24 people.
You guys aren't that small. I've seen your.
We had about 200 people watching, and that video will have 2,000 by the end of the night.
Well, that's awesome. So if I have more of an audience than just me talking one-on-one with someone, I'm not talking so much to Craig. I'm more talking to the thousands of people listening. And right. So if there's a particular position that I'm advocating for, that I'm fighting for, and I can make a stronger point by laying out something that's much more emotionally heated, the audience doesn't feel affronted. They don't feel like I'm attacking them personally. They feel like I'm making a strong case and it's me versus Craig, and they're able to kind of distance themselves from it. Which is why even when I was a creationist, I was much more, I was able to listen to debates even by like someone like Hitchens, who's a little bit more like confrontational, because I didn't feel personally attacked. And I'm like, oh, well, someone else is defending my perspective. But then I was able to kind of objectively listen to what was going on. So that's kind of the approach that I was taking with the debate. I was much more confrontational than usual, even on my channel, because I wasn't talking directly to the audience. I was talking to Craig.
It was great. I mean, like I said, it's a nice, I think it's a good side of you that people get, to see that they don't normally get to. It was like the points that you were making. The thing that I liked the most was that you didn't try to appeal too much to speculation, or you were giving him facts. The examples and this is where I still don't understand where the confusion was with the they had religion for 1,500 years and now they don't, and they're doing better, and that's somehow a favorable position for them. I can't understand where that disconnect with Craig was going, because it was obvious to see that those secular societies are doing better now without religion. And he was wanting to argue that they got to that point because of religion, which the two, it just can't, they can't follow.
Yeah, because nobody would say that there wasn't contributions from religion, but that wasn't the discussion. The discussion is, do we need it now?
Sure.
Yeah, and that was what I laid out at the beginning, was like, in order to win the debate that there is a current justification for religion, he would have to show that the religious alternatives are better than the secular ones, and that they do more good than harm, and that there aren't adequate secular alternatives and secular charities that do the same thing but without the religious atrocities. Yeah,
I was wondering if he should have maybe taken the approach that religion is beneficial if it's a beneficial religion, and to everybody agree to say,
wait, what?
Okay, well,
oxymoron.
No. If people say, look, here's a religious belief, and I think because Jesus says this, I should give out free food to the homeless. Okay, granted, there might be secular reasons which are better. No reason, no problem there. But if they focused on the positive things and said, yes, we all agree there's atrocities, and get rid of all that atrocity shit, and if religion could get rid of the atrocities, it would be net beneficial. I think that's a better argument to try to be made. I don't know if it's. I don't know if it could be. I don't know if it can be made.
No,
but it's a better way to go, because I don't think he was acknowledging the fact that Holy Koolaid was pointing out so many atrocities, and it kind of bothered me when SJ was saying that he was cherry picking, because I'm sorry, you were not cherry picking. You were giving examples. That's not what cherry picking means.
If they deny every single, Bible, they have to deny it all.
The thing is, every single one of those instances that I gave, you can point to Bible verses that are used to justify them.
Yes, that's true.
And it's religious organizations that are doing them, and that are exclusively doing them. So an example that I would give is, when religious organizations cover up the mass raping of children by the clergy. And it's not just the Catholic Church. This has happened with Jehovah's Witnesses. This has happened with Protestant denominations. This has happened in the Muslim communities. And when they do it, because they see it as, oh, we don't want to hurt the faith. We don't want people to be led astray, because it's even worse if they were to doubt and go to hell because they turn away from the faith. Then that is something that you will only see happen in the name of religion or because of religion.
Yeah. No, I have to agree with you full-heartedly on that. The fact that they cover it up in order to save face, because they think the consequentialism is that, oh, well, if people lost faith in religion, we lose souls. I'm sorry, that's not a good excuse.
But to speak to your earlier point, Steve, if they ditched the bad parts and just tried to go with the good parts, those bad parts are a part of the foundation of their faith. They're in the book that they call the Holy Bible. So
right, that'd be a good counter argument, sure.
But that is cherry picking. That right there is the definition of cherry picking. They're using
nullify their religion.
They're using their humanistic principles and their concept of a modern version of reality that has been improved upon to be able to figure out on their own which aspects of their Bible are atrocious and which ones are morally amazing. And if you're able to do that without, if you're able to do that on your own and pick through what you want to take from your holy books, then you don't really need your holy books. You already know, based off of societal standards, what is good and what isn't.
Amen.
And that's why I thought Trevor Lund's question was really, really good, though. How do you know which part to take as a moral compass and which part to take as morally reprehensible?
And if the Bible is perfect, if the Quran is perfect, if all these books are the perfect, unerring word of God, then one, they wouldn't have horrible, atrocious things in it. It would all be perfect. Instead of talking about how women should be submissive to their husbands and shouldn't speak in church, and how you should beat your slave and how you should rape your captors, instead of that, they would have passages in the Bible that literally just say, "Don't rape, don't
hug somebody."
Yeah, don't harm someone who's just wanting to live their life and go about like they'd have things advocating for gay rights and whatnot. But instead, it takes thousands of years of human progress for us to be able to kind of distance ourselves from these holy books. The second point I want to make is they'll say, "Oh, well, we just don't have a adequate understanding of it." Well, you need to have a PhD in Islamic studies or in theology in order to understand it. Well, if that's the case, why is it that God is such a shitty communicator that you have to have a PhD to wade through the gobbledygook and through the craziness? Why can't he just write at an 8th grade level like every other news editor does?
Well, I think that's what we had with the discussion the other night about the, who was it, Dr. DeMatte. I mean, his argument is that, look, there's been 50 to 60 probably people that have written for the Bible, and all of them have very different opinions, a very different things they got to even retroactively add in to fit the narrative. That's going to change a lot of things. And look, if I want to say A is true, I'm going to use this passage, but I want to say A is false, I'm going to use this passage. And the reason being is because different people wrote different passages.
It's an anthology.
To quote David McAfee, the Bible is the perfect word of God. 10,000 denominations can't be wrong.
44,000.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
But
that's
people,
so true. That's so true, though.
I'm glad people really like that discussion that you had, though. Again, when we're talking about these types of religious discussions, there's a chance always that I think the message is going to be lost. And I think that both of you guys kind of at least conveyed from your perspective why you either think religion should be part of society or you don't. But I'm going to be straight up. I think you had a better argument by far.
No way. What?
Surprise.
I also, Holy Koolaid, I really like, and I know that you didn't bring this up at all, but I really like what you brought up at Faithless Forum about the fact that ancient refers to longevity. So we're the actual ancients, not the dead people from 4,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago.
Yeah. Well, there's this concept that there's these wise old ancients that we glean wisdom from. And it's like our society's been around a lot longer than their society when they wrote that. We have a lot more to go off of.
Would you be curious to see what society would be like, I don't know, 1,000 years, 5,000 years, or even 10,000 years in the future?
Absolutely. I hope I live that long. I hope that modern medicine extends life expectancies.
Not just for the technology, right?
Able to...
Yeah, I would be amazed. Look even every Christian out there, if 10,000 years from now there has been no second coming. Would you still at that point go, yeah, shit, maybe I was
Yes.
wrong?
Steve, no, the second coming is on April 24th, which really sucks because
I've
they
heard
haven't
23rd.
released
Is
Half-Life
it
3
24th?
yet.
It can't be the 24th because we have Matt Dillahunty that day, and that would really suck.
Actually, that would be kind of poetic.
Wouldn't that? Oh, that would be kind of cool. We're just sitting there talking, and all of a sudden,
Surely I have some gamers in the chat that got my disappointment that Half-Life 3 hasn't been released yet.
Is that is that going to be like a gamer type thing that they did, or is that actually
Half-Life 3 is one of the most anticipated video games.
I thought they decided it's not going to be ever released though.
Years, and
that's been a rumor for like how long?
It's a meme now. Everyone, it's almost like Illuminati confirmed. It's like Half-Life 3 confirmed. Everyone's waiting for the announcement. It never happens.
Illuminati, now the Vigilant Christians.
I don't think it's going to happen unless a user does it. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Half-Life was a good game though.
Yeah, they made a mod. They took the Half-Life 1 and they did like a graphics updated mod, like a user created one that was pretty sweet.
So Koolaid says, "Hey, holy Koolaid, start eating apricot seeds. You'll live forever."
Do apricot seeds have cyanide, or is that just apple seeds?
Yeah.
No, it's okay. Technically, it doesn't have cyanide. It kind of has a miglin, which has a hydrogen cyanide molecule attached to it. So
don't you have to eat like a crap ton of it for it to be lethal?
You would get. I think you would get sick pretty quickly though. But the problem isn't so much that it makes you sick, as it will. But the problem is that people that buy into the quote vitamin B17, which is not a vitamin, they don't get the necessary treatment that they do need, and so that's what ends up killing them.
Well, because when I was a kid, I like after eating an apricot, I used to like crack one open and eat the seed.
I couldn't even imagine eat the seed. They're like hard and I don't think they'd even taste.
No, you crack open like the hard shell. You crack it open. There's like a little soft inner thing. Oh. Yeah.
Hey, look how you turned out. Twitchy and drooly.
That's how I became an atheist.
Eat apricot seeds. Yeah.
Like there is no God.
It makes sense.
You know what? I'm glad you guys had a lot of fun at Faithless Forum too. By the way, I've watched some of that stuff. It looked really, really good, and so maybe you guys have another one. I don't know.
We're hoping to.
I'll be the token agnostic that shows up, even though I'm a non-believer, so I got to fit in there.
Well, what we're trying to do with this is a lot of atheist conferences and meetups and groups and stuff are so stale. It's just like lectures, and because we're a little bit younger, a little bit more high energy, we want to bring that to the conference format where we have, I was a former youth pastor, and so I know how to do like icebreakers and different activities that get people involved and moving around and making friends and stuff. And if we can have more of that type of stuff and kind of a conference format, I think it'll really take off, because then people they claim it. It's a part of their own. It's part of their culture. It's part of, they're having a good time. They're having fun. Believe
it or not, I've had to do several dozen lectures and doing icebreakers in the whole 9 years. I used to be in charge of training, so I would have 30 people that I had to stand in front of and give training onto once a week for several years, and I did that in the military as well. So yeah, I'm used to that, and I actually enjoy that. I like doing training, and I like it's not so much being the center of attention, but I like educating, right? And if I have something that I'm trying to impart to the people that I know need to learn this, I find that to be enjoyable.
I think it's the center of the attention thing, Steve.
Of course it is. Because it's argument for queerness. We
set up a board of directors for Faithless Forum, and we're hoping to plan the next one and kind of make it something where we're trying to figure out where we want to have the next one. We're trying to figure out. North Carolina. We're probably going to stick to Dallas because it's kind of central, but we might be doing some smaller ones too. But we're talking through it and figuring out like how much we can grow and keep it sustainable, and a bunch of other factors. So we'll see. It's in the works.
That's cool.
And we have a year. We have a year out at least. So.
All right, guys. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up a little bit. I do want to thank the people that came out to listen to the after show and people that watched the actual discussion on NonSequitur. You guys are just so fabulous. I love the fact that they enjoy these conversations as much as we do. Kyle and I hate to speak for Kyle, but I think it's true that we love listening to these things, don't we?
I hate them.
I know. What the hell are we doing? God.
It's a little bit sadistic. You're just kind of, subjecting yourself to the pain.
I tell you what, I love them all except the flat Earth ones. Oh my God, am I burned out on flat Earth? Sorry, Kyle. I'm just so burned out on flat Earth.
How many of those guys think they're posed though?
Most of them.
All of them. But see,
But I'm
they
having,
clogged up your
ironically, I'm having
comment
tomorrow.
section.
I'm a Coke night with a flat earther, so whatever.
Do Pose pay $600 to go to conferences about flat Earth?
I don't know. It's weird, dude.
They
It's
sell
weird.
out. They sell out those conferences.
It was 10 minutes from my house, their first one, right down in Cary, North Carolina. They
You should have gone to that one, dude. You should have gone.
No, you know what?
Yes.
If you'd have told me when that happened, if you'd have came by and said, you know what, you'll be sitting behind a webcam listening to these people day in and day out make an argument for the flat Earth, I would have laughed at you. And now look at me.
Oh yeah, no, I'm right with you, man. I was like, is this a thing? No,
really?
No, I didn't either.
No.
If you told me 4 years ago, or heck, even if you told me when I was super religious that flat Earth was going to make a resurgence, I would have laughed. There's no way.
It's just the dumbest thing on the like. It's.
And
you guys should see. You guys should check out. I was on an episode of Robert Stanley's podcast, The Right to Reason, and I have probably like 5 minutes straight where I'm just like ripping into the whole flat Earth thing, and I get pretty pissed off. And he said that I could repost it to my channel, so I'm not sure if I want to animate it or just throw the audio up, but it should be fun.
Good luck. Good luck to your comment section. Just let me.
Oh my God, the flat earthers
will never be the same.
Oh my God, do they come out in droves? They're like, oh, Steve, you're an idiot. You don't understand. You're not on a spinning ball because gravity, no such thing. And
well, here's the trick.
Just like, what the fuck,
Steve? Here's the trick with your comment section is. You post something, you try to do as much scientific research as you can. You try to check all your facts and whatnot. But then, like, when you actually publish the video, it's going to be your subscribers that see it within the first 24 hours and start sharing it. So you're going to get mostly positive stuff from, like, people who are already fans. After the 24-hour period, I check comments on old videos some, like, if they are popping up in my notifications, like, on my phone. But I kind of avoid them to a large extent just because, like, it gets... you start getting all the trolls and the craziness, and I just don't have time to.
Well, the trolls, the trolls are gone. I don't put up with any of the trolls, but the flat earthers who come in and say the stupid shit, I love reading those.
I live for
them. Like, I had this one guy.
We pin the worst ones to the top of our comments list, and the number one response that I have done probably 70 times at least is, "Oh, we love you too," with a heart and a rainbow, and those are usually to the people who are like. One guy called us I think I have it still. Go ahead and talk.
I was going to say, I have this one guy who wants to have a discussion, and I said, fine. And he's talking about like laminar and turbulent flow. And I'm like, okay, I know a little about fluid theory. I took it in the Navy, so I know what Reynolds numbers is, and I know, what the difference. I'm trying to explain to him, look, do you know what drag is? And when you have a rotational body and you have an atmosphere that's very, very thin in relationship to the Earth. I mean, if you actually did a comparison of the size, the amount of atmosphere is very small to the size of the Earth. And so as the Earth rotates, it's going to drag that atmosphere with it. And he starts talking about laminar flow rates and all this other shit. I'm like, what the fuck does any of this have to do with this simple drag, dude? It's just basically taking the atmosphere and moving along with the same rotation as the Earth. And he's like, well, you say it's not complicated. I'm like, well, the concept isn't complicated, but when you actually look at the math, the differential equations for fluid theory, not easy stuff. And of course, they're never going to take any of these classes, right? They're not going to study thermodynamics or fluid theory or Bernoulli's equations to understand any of these things. They're just going to say, oh, look, you don't know what you're talking about. You're wrong. Earth is flat.
Well, this guy says, this is a comment that was recently left. Y'all are a joke. Every time I listen to y'all's show, it's nothing but garbage. Go to fucking hell.
I'm hurt. Yeah.
Nathan Oakley actually commented on my little channel. I found that quite humorous.
What do you say about yours? Because he's I don't know what. Well, I think he's okay with mine now. Because he basically after the last time he was on, he wrote me. I had a good experience, and then he's like making 4 videos about my channel. Well, whatever.
I did a little hangout with Vito, and
I love Vito,
and he's like, this is a waste of YouTube space. It's 46 viewers. I'm like, so I did a little comparison in my comment to him. I said, I got 46 viewers and 123 subs.
That's a huge amount of, that's good. Yeah.
So I was looking at.
I said, you have 5,000 subs and you got 1,000 viewers. I said, my ratio is lower. I said that's like gear ratios. That means I'm moving faster than you, buddy.
Yeah, we have 5,000 subs now. Thank you very much, guys. And we had almost 1,000 live concurrent the other day. That's 1/5. That's 20%. That's who else has 20% of their viewer or their subscription base watching? That's
Ellen.
Gargantuan. Who? Helen?
Ellen.
Generous.
Yep. Guaranteed she's got at least 20.
I don't watch her stuff, so.
Well, so YouTube does they do favor like massive talk shows, and there's certain channels that are definitely in their sweet spot. But Veritasium did a video recently where he showed that YouTube's new algorithms are favoring quantity over quality now. So if you're putting out videos regularly and constantly, you're much more likely to be recommended than if you do like one quality one once a month.
And that's why we make sure that we put out a video, every so often. Like on this channel, I try to do 2 a week.
Yeah.
And on the Great Debate Community, I try to do 2 a week, and then the Non-Sequitur, we were like, what, 4?
The one exception to that is if you have millions of subscribers and you put out a freaking amazing one that everyone shares and it gets trending, like Kurzgesagt, the In a Nutshell channel, their videos are amazing, but they always manage to trend their videos in like the top 10 when they release.
Mm.
One day.
Well, I mean, Kyle had a really good video that he put out just recently. It didn't get trended, but it should.
Yeah. I was just looking in response to your Flat Earth comments on our podcast, The Here and How. We have our most viewed episode is the Flat Earth one, and it has like the most downvotes too. It's
Oh yeah.
Can we ask what your most viewed was, out of curiosity?
Well, the Flat Earth is the most viewed on the podcast.
Yeah, but how many?
I mean, on YouTube we're super small. It has 978 views, but it has 11 downvotes and 57 upvotes.
But how about do you look at the metrics of the podcast
wait
itself?
till you hear our count. Let me give you the downvotes for the Jeranism.
Oh, that got shat on huge by
video. This is
he probably brought all of his trolls with him.
Okay. We have 710 upvotes, 401 downvotes.
Nice. That was actually like 2 flat earthers with 1 million sock accounts.
But I've found a good equation, I think, that we're going to do from now on. And it seemed to be, this was a great discussion tonight because I forgot to tell you who you were debating and that you were debating. So I think from this point out, we'll just invite people and not
surprise discussions.
Right,
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I think
just let you know, we have 12 podcast episodes actually on iTunes and Stitcher and all that. We're already almost at 22,000 downloads. That's not bad.
That's actually really good.
Yeah, we're averaging, I think, over 1,000 per episode.
That's really good. So for some reason our podcast has not gotten a whole lot of action. We only have a few thousand downloads for the podcast, and then on YouTube I think we have a few thousand views. But
we have another one come out. When's the next one come out? I just cut it, but I don't want to
because the way that podcasts are, like, I know with us, I have us on 14. I think the last time I counted, there are 14 different platforms. And they have there's a podcast directory, and if you don't know about this, Thomas, I can send you the link. But there's a database of all of these different aggregators that you go in and you put your RSS feed into each one.
I've already done it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Those, like from Spotify and iHeartRadio, are probably the 2 biggest pushers of the podcast outside of where we host.
I think iHeartRadio, you have to have a show for at least 2 months before, at least with Libsyn.
Mm-hmm.
And we just launched I think we just launched episode 8. So we should be able to submit it to them, but until now it's been off limits.
It's 2 months, and you have to have a minimum of 4 videos. But Spotify is the. Have you done Spotify yet?
I think I did. I'm not sure if it's on. I can double check.
It takes Spotify for some reason 4 or 5 weeks because what they do is they actually go in and they screen your content. It's not something where it'll automatically do it for you. The people at Spotify, they're very picky about what they put in their podcast section. So you get this big disclaimer saying that, you might not get picked for these various reasons. If it's controversial or anything like that, they won't usually put up unless it's a big name podcast. But it took 4 or 5 weeks for that whole process to go through.
Are we gonna have a podcast out by tomorrow? Is that gonna be?
Hopefully.
Okay.
Hopefully. But yeah, it depends on whoever there is like listening to your stuff. But it's like an intensive process, but it's worth it because that's one of the biggest drivers of what we have going on now is Spotify, believe it or not.
And by the way, people that watch us on YouTube, you know, we're more than happy for them to go over and download us on iTunes and other things as well. So,
but then they won't get to see my beautiful face.
That's a plus.
Stick with the video.
So do you guys take do you just rip the audio directly from your YouTube uploads and just put that straight to your podcast feed, or how do you do
about
it?
a third of them.
Yeah,
a third of them
we do edit it for content though. Yeah.
We started out originally just planning on doing the podcast. The streams and the videos kind of came at a later point, but we went in initially where we would record the episodes ahead of time. Like right now, we're probably backlogged 6 episodes where we've done the interviews, recorded the interviews, and they're just sitting there waiting for me to have.
But we tell people that they're not going to be out for at least a month or plus. So I mean, they're not expecting like the day after.
So is my debate going to go up?
Oh yeah.
Who are you?
I am a master debater, sir.
Yeah,
I will challenge you on that, sir.
Yeah, we don't mind putting like the YouTube stuff on the podcast, but the podcast originally, like Kyle said, we're interviewing specific people and we're having discussions with them on the podcast.
But
and this
the
was
debates always go.
Yeah.
The debates always go on there because that's a big.
I agree.
Those are our biggest numbers. People
Absolutely
love the whole debate aspect. But we went with different things too. Like this channel primarily focuses on pseudoscience, religion, things of that nature. Whereas the podcast, we do episodes on stand-up comedy. The guy that invented Be My Eyes app, which was a really big hit for blind people. It allowed it's a really cool story. It was one of my favorite episodes that we've done. But this guy invented this app where blind people, if they needed to see like what the expiration date on milk was, for example, they go to their app on their iPhone and hit a button and it calls somebody who can see, and they kind of have that direct interaction. And just his story about how he came up with the idea and went through the various process of doing that was just fascinating.
And what's weird is it didn't translate well into video though. The podcast had 1,500 downloads, but it didn't seem to translate. It's probably at least watched video. But I liked that episode a lot. I liked listening to that guy.
People's tastes are weird,
right?
What might be my favorite, everybody else could hate, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's called Visionary Sight on Demand, and I thought that he was a very fascinating guy to listen to.
He was. You're not going to hit but that's where the when a Christian calls segment came from. We had Pamela Whistle, who was the membership director of the American Atheist. She came on, and during our interview, she had mentioned that they get a lot of hate mail. So I was like,
we need to get more.
I said, off air, can we get some of that hate mail and play the audio recordings through a video? And
I'd love to hear their voicemails right now.
We're gonna get more. We're gonna get more. Trust me.
Do you want to hear one?
Well, no, I'm saying after the.
Did you hear the last one? Did you hear the ones we played before? They're hilarious.
I'm saying after the Silverman thing.
Oh,
yeah, I don't know how it's going to shake things up.
Yeah,
but I don't think that's going to affect our relationship with them as far as getting the recordings. That would Pam.
I'm more talking about like you're going to have Christians that are calling in that are like, like,
yeah,
I told you, oh, you bad evil atheist,
which is crazy because like I don't know all the inside details, but even if 100% of it's true and it's like American Atheists still, they took swift action. They didn't cover anything up. They were transparent. And I'm like,
sure.
Can we say Jim Baker?
Well, I tell you what, Kyle, hey, Kyle, we actually have a phone number for NonSequitur Show. Maybe we should do the same thing. Maybe people can call into us and they can rant to us and we can play those.
Voicemails.
Yeah.
See, if I know that number, I'm just going to call and do like a different voice impersonation.
It's easy to remember. 747-666-7371.
Yeah, 666 not 666 was a sec one?
It spells out 747, that's the area code, non-sec 1. That's the phone number.
Non-sec 1, which is 666 sec 1.
Yeah, that translated to 666, so it's perfect. Call in, Christians. We'd love to hear from you.
I'm just going to call in and be like, You filthy heathens. You're
Because
going to hell.
It's you're a bunch of retard.
Did Thomas? Did you happen to hear the first?
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Go Kent Hovind, man. Go Kent Hovind. Hook it over. Hold you all.
I don't think that if they are calling about the David Silverman thing, that's our.
Oh no, I heard the one. I heard the one where the lady was like, "You atheist bitch."
Oh my god, the reason why that's so funny is we all know people like that.
Yes.
That's what made it so much more funny. Like, shit, I know people that sound exactly like that.
You into hell.
Yeah, exactly.
Fear you into hell.
It looks like my comment section after like a week.
Oh, yours isn't as bad as some. Oh, come on. Poor Rachel, man. She gets shat on left and right, and I don't know why.
God.
Like the nicest person on the planet. And yet I've read some of her comments. Fuck.
She's gotten to the point, though, where she has good fun with it, and she'll post it
but why?
to Twitter.
But why are some people so mean to her, of all people? I get it. But her? Why?
Yeah. And it's like, of all the angry people you could shit on, it's like, really? Like, you're going to go for someone who's like so soft-spoken?
And she could take it, don't be wrong. She's not thin-skinned, but it's like, come on, you're going to shit on the nicest person out there?
People suck. People suck. I mean, they're going to go for the one that deserves it the least, probably. Like
some people just want to watch the world burn.
Damn right.
Look at me, for example.
You're the argument from queerness.
Yeah. Is that really a thing, Steve?
Yes. Mackey's argument from queerness is an argument against moral realism.
V minus P times Q equals.
No, we're talking about moral realism, dude. You're in the wrong ballpark. Mackey's argument is against moral realism.
All the same. Gary the dinosaur, Steve. Gary the dinosaur.
Philosophy. It's still a thing. So somebody doesn't know what the David Silverman thing is. He just got released from American Atheists. They fired him.
Yeah, they let him go.
I don't know the whole story. I don't really care.
So what I think the public statement from American Atheist is that there were some allegations that he was like using, and I don't want to be misquoted, so like this is me kind of off the cuff thinking possibly from memory, but like I think they were saying that he was using his position to promote his book in a way that was like unethical, and then there were some allegations of putting people in positions in American Atheist who he was having a relationship with, and then there were some different sexual harassment allegations and stuff. But
it was a mixture. It was a potpourri of stuff.
American Atheists, they started investigating it, and I think they fired him before BuzzFeed even released their article. And then the BuzzFeed article is, I mean, BuzzFeed is garbage to begin with. It's like the lowest standard of journalism. But still there were some allegations and stuff, and it was like that. In light of everything else, it was kind of, I'm not going to comment too much. I hate to I hate when people dive into trial by popular opinion, but
I agree with you.
I think Thomas Westbrook for next American Atheist president. Just putting it out there, guys.
I tell you what, if you do, people know I'm not a huge fan of American Atheists, but I tell you what, if you do become a charter member or whatever in charge, all I want to see happen, please, if there's a God or if there's not a God, make it happen. I want you to buy the Ark and turn it into whatever atheist thing you want. I don't care. Just do what you want.
Can we make it a water park?
Yeah, exactly. That's fine. Make it a water park. Do something with it. I would love that. The irony would just be so apropos.
The Ark Encounter water park, and after a few months, all the wood is like rotted and like.
I don't think it was the atheist headquarters.
Atheists ruin everything.
I think we should make it a gay nightclub, personally.
Oh yeah,
it'd be fabulous. Yeah. I would go. I would so go. I'm down with that.
I would support that.
Yeah, me too. Arc. They already have the rainbow there, right? They already have the lights.
Do they have a rainbow?
Yeah. Seriously. Ken Ham was trying to take back the rainbow. The rainbow was a covenant, so he lit up the Ark all rainbow-like, and it was like, I'm like, this is fucking fabulous, man.
That's where the rainbow came from.
Yeah.
The rainbow is a sign of God's love for dudes.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
Noah had dinosaurs, a big boat, and gays.
Kyle, I showed you that picture, which was, by the way, sent to me from Bill Ludlow, And it was legit. That picture of Jesus holding a dinosaur for the opening of Dinosaur Adventureland.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
All they did was
take
take the quick. That was what that meme was a joke, right? The meme was originally a joke, and all he did was trim his hair and put it on his Dow promotional thing. And so he literally had
put out a flyer.
Yes.
Jesus holding a fucking dinosaur.
Yes,
baby, like a
raptor or something.
That's his flyer. That's his flyer for his grand opening this weekend.
And it was supposed to be a joke, and he took it and he ran with it. I'm like, are you fucking?
And Jesus has a bowl cut in it. That's the crazy thing. You have a bowl cut haired.
Oh
Jesus
my god!
You know, it's like that dinosaur. It's like that Bible verse where the velociraptor shall lie down with the lamb.
That's hilarious.
I agree with Holy though.
Right now.
I'm going to give you mods, Holy, just because you're cool
That's
like that.
Amazing.
But thumbs up for turning the Ark into a gay nightclub. So if you want to turn the Ark into a gay nightclub, thumbs up the video. I'm okay with that. I'm down with that.
Absolutely.
I'm sending it to you right now, Thomas, so you can see it.
What does homosexuality have to do with rainbows? Oh, really? That's like the whole Oshiwa asked that. No, rainbow like
now.
Yeah, really? Really? Oshiwa, seriously? Gay culture is not your thing, is it?
We own the rainbow now.
So you appropriated that from the young Earth creationist?
There you go, Thomas. Check that out.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. It's actually from the Dinosaur Adventureland. Hovind actually
Feast
took
your eyes on that.
That's amazing.
It's not even a joke. Hovind actually did
you guys, You guys need to screen share that.
Oh, I can. I can do it from my Facebook page. One sec. I'll show you guys so you guys know what I'm talking about.
Can we talk about Jesus' hair first of all? Let's start.
Well, he gave him a haircut.
Obviously, he's got like a one of those 1950s housewife hairstyles.
So you think I'm kidding, guys? No, we're not kidding. This is actually Hovind's Dinosaur Adventureland grand opening, Saturday, April 21st. And here's Jesus. And by the way, if you look at the original meme, he had a lot longer hair, but he's cutting this cute little velociraptor.
This makes me think that Kent Hovind is a troll.
Have you guys seen the one?
It does, right?
Seen the one where like Jesus is like shooing the brontosaurus away from the ark? He's like, "Shoo! You're messing with my story."
Big dino. Free entrance at barbecue lunch, free groceries from food pantries. So Jesus really wants that free barbecue lunch.
Did you ever think in history that you would ever see the words barbecue lunch beside a bowl cut Jesus holding a dinosaur? Now, just logically think through that for a second.
That's why if I thought this was like worse. If I thought there was like somebody mocking Ken Hovind, I would be like, this is hilarious.
Does he not have people around him going, sir, this is not a good idea? Like,
it's not a good idea.
Good. This is not good. Like anyone, people at Dinosaur.
We lost Steve.
That was Hovind. Hovind's sniping now.
I think that he meant to stop sharing his screen, but he hung up on us.
Yeah. Well, guys,
he doesn't understand the argument from queerness, and so he just ducked out.
Oh,
he's off to go read a gay encyclopedia.
I closed the wrong window there. Sorry.
You rose him back.
Yeah, I rose.
I rose
on the third second.
Please save. You guys have an opportunity, I guess, with opening this park, this Dinosaur Adventureland park. You know, it could be nice. I don't know. Maybe a nice place. But if you really want people to take it seriously, give Jesus his long hair back. And
dude, how could anybody take that seriously? I'm sorry. I can't even wrap my head around that.
If we buy the Ark Encounter, I want to have a gay Jesus.
I will donate for that. I'm poor as fuck, but whatever. I mean, I get people give me super chats, and God bless you guys. And I mean that in the non-theist kind of way. But thank you. I mean, I'll help out. I would love to see an atheist organization take over the Ark.
Well, we have to hear his idea first.
Since John is the disciple that Jesus loved, what we would have is like Jesus bending over a cross, and he's getting whipped from behind by John.
Oh wow!
On the cross.
Oh wow! I can't figure out if I'm aroused right now.
Yeah, you don't know where to go with that, do you? yeah. Jen with a one N says only serve lobster and shrimp cocktail at the gay nightclub. There you go. There you go, man. Shellfish.
Now comes the stereotypical
But why do theists? When I ask that question, why does care so much? Why does God care so much about fucking shellfish? They always say, well, that's like minor stuff. I'm like, but that doesn't answer the question.
They say it's minor stuff, but the punishment was freaking
Death.
death. Was
Exactly.
minor stuff for the people who got killed over it?
That was my argument. Now, I do think, hear me out.
Sorry, we have to bury you up to your neck and stone you to death. This is just a minor thing.
No, I do think
you just had to wear the mixed linen.
Hang on, follow this. I do think that the reason why they didn't eat shellfish, because we all know people have severe allergic reactions to shellfish. Plus, it goes bad, very bad, very quickly. And I think there was probably a lot of actual medical reasons why if you eat shellfish you get sick, and they just translated that as, oh, God doesn't want you doing it. But
even if you're deathly allergic and you eat shellfish and you die, it's like, well, we don't want some people to die, so anyone who eats it is going to get killed. Seems a little bit.
That logic doesn't follow. Yeah, I get that.
The mixed linen one is my favorite. Like you can't wear garments that have the
That's just good fashion.
Or the one that says don't plant two different crops in the same field.
Yeah, what? That's an interesting thing, I think, to tackle, is those kind of little things that people like. It's in the same book where it says the shellfish and the mixed linen. In the same book where it talks about the gay people, but they focus on the gay. Like, you can't do the gay thing. The mixed linen thing, yeah, that's okay. The shrimp, that's fine. Not the gay thing.
Yeah.
Same book, though. Same book.
I think it's Deuteronomy 20 and 21 was the verse that I mentioned in the debate, where it literally advises you on how to rape your sex slave.
Yeah, well, it basically says that you give them 30 days of mourning. And by the way, it doesn't really, when you preen the thumb or the nails, that doesn't mean rip them out. It just means that they cut them. But
doesn't it also say like shave their heads?
Yeah, you shave their heads and they give them 30 days, and then after that, you get to do whatever you want to them. Basically,
yeah, because they may not be super receptive when you first kill all of their family members, but if they have 30 days to like stop, then you can go in and do what you want with them.
Yeah, it's basically a way for them to adjust to the new overlords kind of thing.
Yeah, and yet this is the book that we're supposed to get all of our morals from. I'm sorry, but no, thank you.
Yeah. And my question is, like, I'm like you, Thomas. I grew up until I was 25. I was a believer, and you never hear that stuff when you're, in the middle of the faith.
I didn't know any of that shit when I was a theist, and I was never a young creationist, though.
Like, you never go there. It's not a thing that's ever talked about. So when I started hearing this stuff, it was actually Aaron Ra and Matt Dillahunty. I started listening to them while I was a Christian, and when I started hearing this stuff, at first I was like, no, they're making stuff up. It's not true. Mm-hmm. And then when you start looking into it and they keep talking, you're like, wait a minute, where is all of this stuff coming from? Because you never, ever hear about that when you're in the middle of it. So I understand some of these Christians who are like, no, that's not true.
5 years ago, I would have not had a clue what any of the fuck you think you were talking about in any of this. Not a clue.
Well, and I think part of it is that it's all buried in like if you start reading through the Pentateuch or like the first 5 books of the Bible, there are sections that are so freaking boring. It's like they bury it in between all the genealogies and like these long accounts and like, when you sacrifice to God, do it like this, and there's all these little details. But then you kind of stop and you take a step back and you're like, literally, they're talking about slaughtering animals on a regular ritualistic basis in order to appease the bloodlust of a god who otherwise want to take their own lives. Like it's insane. And then God is like, oh, you don't want to have anyone among you that believes in any false gods, so wipe them out, slaughter them at the point of a sword, and kill all the men, women, children, and livestock even. And he's, except the women who have not known a man, take them for your sex slaves. And it's like you start actually kind of, when you read it objectively and you start to actually kind of see like what it's saying, it is one of the most barbaric things like in all recorded history.
That's the shame, is that it's able to be dressed up in such a prim and proper, majority appealing package.
I absolutely love. So I'm reading through. I'm partway through Steven Pinker's Better Angels of Our Nature, and like the book is freaking phenomenal. I cannot recommend it highly enough. But like, just in the very opening passages, he talks about the Old Testament and the New, but he talks about how like David goes through and like slaughters all these people, and then it's like, and then finally he managed to do one thing that displeased the Lord. He took a census, and for that God killed 75,000 Israelites and stuff. It's just like the most insane things that.
Well, isn't that similar to what I said during your guys' discussion? I mean, Lot's wife looks behind and she's condemned to be a salt of pillar or pillar of salt, and yet Lot's 2 daughters get Lot drunk and then rape him, and God just kind of looks the other way.
Eve eats an apple, and the entire world from then on out is condemned to burn for eternity. For
the whole Bible is a story of how Jesus has to slaughter his own son to save us because he lost his shit over a woman eating a piece of fruit.
Right, and my favorite argument is when they say, we don't follow the God of the New Testament. They don't really say that, but they're like, we follow what Jesus says. Jesus is the the new covenant, the New Testament. But I'm sitting there going, well, isn't Jesus God? So he would be the same person.
It depends on the denomination.
He was in the Old Testament. No, he wouldn't be. It'd be the same.
It depends on the denomination. Some of them actually attribute Jehovah from the Old Testament to be Jesus in non-corporeal form.
I've never heard of anybody.
But even still, they're saying that God got it wrong, or that morality is, they talk about how morality is objective and absolute, and yet it changes from the old to the new. Right. And God changes his mind and figures stuff out, and it gets better.
I'm okay with the concept of objective morality in certain cases. I think Ozzy has an argument for objective morality, but not the way the theists do it. Not the way that they portray it. I definitely don't think you need to be grounded with a deity to have objective morality. I think that's a false narrative from the get-go. And I think that's what theists try to put forth is if you have objective morality, it must be from God. The conversation you had with Greg Geiler, that's the position he came from. And I think he's absolutely wrong on that. You do not have to have grounding in a deity to have absolute morality. You can have an atheist and have objective morality, but you can ground it by other means. And I think that they're saying, no, you have to have a God for that. No, you don't.
In Craig's opening statement, he started to go down that path of religion is the source of morality and objective morality and stuff. And I was shit, here we go again.
Yeah, no, that's a narrative that I push back on because
that morality's worse.
But then, fortunately, he didn't stay on that because that would have been an entire different topic of the source of morality is different from is religion justifiable.
We still got the Hitler though, so there's something.
Yeah, and even though I put the caveat in at the beginning, we still got there. But I mean, I've heard that one enough that I had enough responses to pull from.
Every time it comes,
shut it down.
It's such a bullshit argument, though. I mean, I'm so tired of them saying, "Oh, morality is derived from deification of some sort," and it's like, no, it's not. I mean, you can make that argument if you want to, but that doesn't mean it's the only way you can have morals.
Yeah. Did you like my? Did you like my state? I was like, before we open Godwin's can of worms here.
It always comes up, doesn't it? Though.
Yeah.
What is Godwin's can of worms? I've never heard.
Well, no, I was referencing. So, there's Godwin's law is basically that, if an argument goes on long enough on the internet, eventually someone's going to appeal to Nazi Germany.
Oh, yeah.
And so
it's called argumentum ad Hitlerium.
Yeah,
that's the technical
name. Flat Earth, right?
No, it's when you're talking about morality, almost always it's a slippery slope, and somebody's eventually going to go, "What? But Hitler?"
Yeah.
Oh God.
And even political debates, if you're talking about something like guns and gun rights or abortion or whatever, then people will be like, "Oh, it's just like Nazi Germany when."
Well, I wanted to have more of a discussion on WWJD. What would Jesus do? That's what I like to have a discussion. What would Jesus do in the given situation? Nothing. And ask two theists what they would do, what they think.
Well, it depends what verse you quote. Are we quoting the Jesus that said, "I have not come to bring peace, but to bring a sword and to turn father against son"?
Yeah, or the Jesus that basically got a whip and overturned tables and started whipping.
Or are we talking about the Jesus that said, "Let the little children come unto me and love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you"?
So I think a case can be made either way. So it's like when you have a moral decision to make. I don't know if asking that particular question, WWJD, is the best way to choose your moral path.
It's like, what would Jesus do? Because fuck fig trees.
Yeah. That's a quote of the night right there. That's the quote of the night.
And pine trees and elephants cannot inseminate each other.
Why would you even ask what I don't understand it.
Well, you got people out there that say that Jesus would be a gun-toting, redneck, big game hunting,
That's the problem.
Trump
Jesus
supporter.
can be made to be whatever you want him to be if you read the verse right. That's the.
I always hate the liberal Christians who are like, Jesus was a communist, and I'm like, communism didn't even exist back then. Like,
right.
If anything, you could argue maybe a case for socialism, but not communism.
True. I see that communism is making a comeback for some reason. People think it's communist, and I don't get that. And there's a huge difference between communism and socialism. And I do think that obviously we do have socialism in some regard in our society.
And there's a big difference between authoritarian socialism and democratic socialism.
Absolutely.
Too.
Huge.
And so I always get
Trump tends to go to authoritarian. He tries to be authoritative.
It drives me crazy when I see advocates of just like pure communism, who are, because I grew up in a former Soviet country. And so when people are like, oh, we just need a communist society, I'm like, even North Korea is not that bad compared to America. I'm just like, are you fucking?
Yeah, it's so nonsensical, right?
Like there's a post by like Dan Arrow about this, like almost in defense of North Korea, and I'm like, are you insane? Like, do you have any idea how they treat their civilians? The level of
the reason for that, Thomas. Why do they? That is so people.
What they're doing is they're taking ideas from people like Noam Chomsky, who like is extremely well educated, extremely intelligent, and he actually makes a decent case for most of his points. But they'll take these ideas and then they'll take them to the extreme and just basically paint anything that America does as this totalitarian empire that's just destroying all these other civilizations. And
one of my favorite sayings is "colorless green ideas sleep furiously." Have you ever heard that before?
Wait, what?
Colorless green ideas sleep furiously. That was by Noam Chomsky back in the 50s. It was used for what was called syntactic.
Was he on acid?
No. It's a very interesting argument about how you can have a sentence that is grammatically correct, but it's still nonsensical. And he wrote that in his book, and it's a very, very famous sentence. And I found it to be very fast. I wrote a blog on it a while back.
Drugs were involved for sure.
Love drugs. Yeah. Colorless green ideas sleep furiously. It's grammatically correct, but nonsensical.
Yeah,
but I like Noam Chomsky. Yeah,
I'm not gonna argue that we don't have massive room for improvements in our country. I'm not gonna argue that there's issues that need fixing in our country. I think that's the very nature of the Constitution, is that it leaves room for amendments, and that's one of the great things about America, is that we have checks and balances. The government does move slowly, internally, but at the same time, it's a far-fetched to draw comparisons between that and a totalitarian dictatorship that literally will punish 3 generations for the crimes of their forefathers and send them to forced labor camps where they're basically going to starve and die or work their entire lives in abject poverty and starvation. And if you try to escape, then they'll punish your relatives.
What do you think? What do you think of the peace treaty that they're going to be supposedly the North and South are actually going to end the war for finally? I mean, I find that to be odd timing because North Korea has been very aggressive in their posture lately, and yet all of a sudden, out of the blue, they're like, "Let's get rid of the peace treaty and actually just get rid of the armistice and make it an actual money."
Yeah,
do you think it's to lift sanctions against them or something? I mean, I don't know why they're doing this. What benefit is them?
It is because when you have a regime like North Korea, you're isolated from the world. Like, there's money being exchanged from countries all the time, all over the place. And when you're isolated like that, and you have, it costs to run a country.
Sure, but he wants to start World War III, it seems, and yet now he's like, oh, well, we'll make peace with the South Korea.
Steve, have you ever read The Dictator's Handbook?
I try not to read stuff.
Oh, it's amazing.
I do read a lot, but I read
basically the book outlines how dictatorships operate, and then how even democracies oftentimes function on from similar principles. But if a dictatorship starts to run out of funds, they have to be able to pay their military, they have to be able to pay their generals, and the people kind of running the show.
You think North Korea's at that point?
And if their funds start to dry up, then the most likely thing is that there's going to be some type of either military coup, or the populace is going to rise up, and you're not going to pay the military, so they're not going to have your back. They're not going to be able to enforce it.
Right. So do you think that? Look at Kim Jong-un is very paranoid to begin with, and do you think that he's at the point where he knows he's in a financial quandary, that if he doesn't do something like make peace with South Korea, that there might be a revolt against him?
I don't know. I haven't seen their books, but all I'm saying is that it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen it.
No, not at all.
Look at Gaddafi.
Not
Gaddafi,
Korea, but internationally.
Gaddafi was the best example of that. He would flip flop every other month, depending on who he's allied with, and until it ultimately caught up with him. Because ultimately, for some reason, dictators can't see the trend that goes along with other dictators. At some point, you're not there. Like, it's very rare that a dictator makes it to the end. Especially those that stretch in Egypt and Libya, and I'm surprised. I'll tell you what, I'm surprised that Bashar al-Assad has lasted as long as he has.
Yeah, because Gaddafi died because of the Libyan civil war. They found him and got after his.
Well, but
so.
Assad has had international backing. He hasn't been entirely in a vacuum.
And that's true, but I don't understand that either. Like, why the guy's obviously a monster. Like, what's the posture that you can give to justify that?
You think that Putin's not?
Yeah, but I mean, there's a big difference between Russia and Syria. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot easier to take out on that end. I know that sounds bad, but it's true. Like, you wouldn't be able to get Putin out as easily as you would Bashar al-Assad. It's just odd to have Putin back that guy, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. There's always strategic reasons behind it.
I am definitely tired, and I'm going to bring this to a close unless you got something else to add.
Yeah, at this point, I'm just ranting politics and
fascinating. No, it's actually pretty interesting, actually. So, by the way, Charlie Meyer says, "Steve, you're awesome." Thank you, Charlie. I appreciate that. And Kyle's awesome too.
I do appreciate both of you guys having me on the Non-Sequitur show and letting me come in guns blazing on that debate. That was fun.
You do you, man.
You know what? You actually lived up to your name, because that is an entrance that the actual Kool-Aid man would have made.
Oh yeah!
Oh yeah!
It's funny because you made the logo for the debate as like half me, half like my cartoon, and there was like this Kool-Aid man in the background. And I have not been able to do that on my channel because I don't want to be freaking sued. So like I can say, don't drink the Kool-Aid. I can say,
but you can't use the icon. You can't use the copy. Yeah.
I can even say, I can even have a channel called Holy Kool-Aid as long as I'm in a different sector. Like if I start selling food and crafts and drinks and stuff, like they're not crafts, but like is Kraft the company that makes it?
Yes.
It's probably I think I'm going to say yes.
If I start selling drinks and food and whatnot, then yeah, they can own my ass in a legal battle. If I show the Kool-Aid man, which is trademarked, then like they can totally take me. But like if I'm in a different industry and I'm literally just talking about like religion and I just have a catchphrase like "Don't drink the Kool-Aid" and I'm Holy Kool-Aid, like I'm probably safe. I'm probably okay. It's more hassle than it's worth.
One time.
Did you see what I did though? Did you see what I did? I didn't use the Kool-Aid man.
I thought you did.
No, he did.
I made a completely different version of the Kool-Aid man, but so that it looks like the Kool-Aid man.
So real quick,
I altered every little thing that I could from their standard.
I mean, you have a halo and you don't have eyes on it.
It's pretty similar though.
But other than that, like even the legs and the arms are like.
If you look carefully, the arms are switched. The right is on the left and the left is on the right.
You'd be hard pressed. You're okay because it's not your logo or anything. You're just making a show thing to talk about. For you, it would fall under fair use. But if I was using that as like my logo and I was like calling myself Holy Kool-Aid, even though I'm in a different industry, if I'm using the actual Kool-Aid jar or then I'd have a difficult time in court.
So somebody during the discussion actually pointed out they had liked the fact that we put the schedule at the bottom rather than the live chat, because I agree the live chat is kind of distracting in a way because in the video itself, because it's already recorded, so there's no reason to have it in the video. It's redundant, and so I like having the schedule there. So Kyle, do you want to like quickly before we end here kind of give people the schedule once again if they're not sure what's coming up, and Holy Kool-Aid if he's got anything coming up, and Dave as well if he's got anything coming up?
While I pull that up,
Dave, you want to go first? You got anything coming up on your channel?
I was just going to say, not really. I was just going to say I just keep doing things on the GDC channel as far as streaming Discord occasionally, like I did today.
And if you want to join that, go into the GDC Discord and You can have 24-hour live discussion there. Yeah, it's in the video description as well.
I'm ready. All right, guys. So on the 19th, which is tomorrow, we have a theist versus a theist. That will be.
We're not saying who. We're not saying who.
Yep, but that's going to be a conversation on hell. Is it real or is it not? One of them believes that hell is real. The other one believes that it is not. We have an evolution and a creationism debate on Friday, and that is with Nick Simmons and who's the other guy?
Nathan. Nathan.
Is the first one G-Man versus Dawkins?
God, no.
The internet would break.
We don't even use that out here.
That would give poor Dr. Dawkins another stroke, I think. That would not be good for his health. I mean, it just would not.
I think YouTube would go out of business.
Yeah, we have some standard.
Saturday, I will be on Godless Cranium's channel at 8. Sunday, we are doing something different. We're going to take a break from religion for a little bit. And since I used to be a chef, and we have scientist Mel, who is really knowledgeable with chemical reactions, we're going to do my signature dish when I actually cooked. And we're going to go through that on a scientific level. Like,
how cool is that?
The chemical reactions that it takes, the psychology in your brain, how you can take the same ingredients, put them on 2 different plates, plate them differently, and one will taste better and rate at a higher value. So there's a lot of like brain things that go on. It's going to be really cool, something different. Monday. Okay, if anybody watched the gun debate that we had here, it was really, really contentious. But Dr. Huffman, I guess depending on what side you are, the antagonist from that stream, he's coming back, and he is a theist. And if people remember Dr. Cy Gart,
he's a young creationist theist.
Brilliant doctor. We had him. He is also a theist, but we had him on several weeks ago with King Crocoduck. They're going to be having a discussion against each other because Dr. Huffman takes the case of Bible literacy, and that we, of course, went the path of creationism.
That's going to be so good.
Dr. Cy Gart, however, believes in evolution. So we've got 2 doctors. One's an MD, one's a PhD. So they're really, just opposite in each. It's going to be good. You want to check that out. And then on Tuesday, we have Dillahunty and Inspiring Religion. So big week coming up with a lot of good stuff, I think. And we've actually got the next several weeks filled up to this point now too, but that's all I'm going to go in.
And we got a couple podcast episodes coming out the next week too.
Yeah.
You guys always have a sweet lineup.
Well,
it's a lot of work though. Like I didn't know.
We spent a lot of time messaging people and arranging things quite considerably.
The thing that pisses me off the most is time zones. Like that's what just.
Yeah, especially when some people like when we have a UK person or somebody like way 8 hours ahead or something like that.
Yeah. Well, and right after daylight savings, you got some places that are like,
right.
And for example, like I'll convert to like CST, and then like there's daylight savings that switches to like CDT.
Oh, Kyle
or
and I have
something.
had a discussion. Exactly. I'm an EDTer. He's a ESTer, and I'm trying to explain the difference. And I'm like, no, it's
when Holy Koolaid asked me. He said because he asked me what time zone I was in. I told him Eastern, and he said. This is going to actually probably show me to be a complete idiot, but that's okay. I'll wear it proudly. He sent me back a message that, what was it, EDT or ESTD?
Right now it's EDT, Eastern
I looked at
Daylight
that and
Time.
I was like, I don't even know what the fuck. I had to Google that. What is that?
Eastern Daylight Time and Eastern Standard Time. Right now they're in Daylight Time. That's all.
It's like you switch between them during like daylight savings, but sometimes you have certain places that operate on one and don't switch, or something.
Alaska, I think, and Arizona.
Oh my god,
Arizona.
it gets so freaking complicated when you start getting international. Like it's
Why can't we all be on one time?
There's a video by a Computer File. He's a YouTuber, a programmer. And he talks about why you should never program in time zones. And it's just this long, like 10-minute video of like all the different caveats that you have to think through.
Oh, you're talking about the one by Tom Scott? Yeah.
Yes, it's amazing.
All right. So Thomas, what do you think you plan on your channel coming up here?
Well, so on the Here and How podcast, we're releasing an episode this Saturday where we're talking about antibiotics, stuff like that. And then on
Thomas, what did you say? I didn't.
You broke up. Yeah, broke up real quick. What's that again?
Oh, on the Here and How podcast this Saturday, we're releasing an episode on antibiotics and antibiotic resistance and the science behind that. So that'll be a fun one. On my personal channel, Holy Koolaid, I have a couple videos coming up. I'm not sure the order I'm going to do them in yet, but one is going to be on telekinesis, like psychics, and debunking that aspect, because I've been doing a whole series on psychics. I also want to do a video on abiogenesis, and then I'm going to release that Flat Earth rant from the Right to Reason podcast, which will be...
I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
Can't wait to hear that.
That'll be fun.
And as far as my channel, I got a rum and coke night tomorrow with none other than Dulo the Pilot Man, for sure.
Flight boss, bitch.
Awesome. For sure, bitch. And that's going to hopefully be, I think we got Landon Kurt Knoll joining us for that, computer scientist, genius extraordinaire. I think we got Red Eye, guy who hangs on for dear life in Australia because the earth is flat. And he, literally the guy that sits there most of the time and just prays to God he doesn't fall into the sun. I think we have Kate joining us, maybe Bionic Dance. She might join us, and anybody else who wants to kind of join. I like this guy, the pilot, though. I mean, he's a flat earther, but I'm not going to dog on the guy because he, I don't know. Maybe I'd say
fantastic actor.
He is poetic. I mean, the guy is poetic, and
he's
so I don't know if he's a poet or not, but he's definitely not your average flat earther, right? He's not bottom of the barrel.
In Australia, can't you just hold on to a sloth or something?
I don't know if they hold on to like kangaroo or
that's a great visual though. That slow little toe coming out to grab you as you fall. Oh,
and they're like,
I've got you.
There was enough room on the raft for both of them, by the way. And so I think maybe on the 20th, I may be on Jackson Wheat's channel. I think that's the date he came up with. I don't know the topic, and I don't know why he wants me on, but whatever. Jackson Wheat's an awesome channel. Oh, I love Jackson Wheat. I just don't know what I have to offer for his channel, but I'm thrilled to death to be asked anytime. So
which that reminds me too. I have 2 more dates to just kind of shamelessly plug.
Go ahead.
I will actually. Well, let me hold off on that, just in case. In case one of them falls through, I don't want to get everybody.
And if you ever missed it, a long time ago, I was on Holy Koolaid's channel, and he got the link fucked up, so it probably had half the people that were trying to watch it not see it. So go back and check that out.
Yeah.
Really discussion.
I started it off through OBS and then had massive audio difficulties and had to switch
it was his
to
first live stream. I was his test guinea. It was literally his test guinea pig.
No, you had the honor of being number 1.
Yeah. So that got 500 views instead of the 5,000, 10,000, 50,000 he normally gets.
No, it has more than that.
I don't know.
But I mean, honestly, if it's any consolation, whenever I do live streams, I don't get as many views. I think the R and Raw one I did has 3,000 views max.
A lot of people don't, and I get that. I mean, in fact, I'm thrilled the fact that our live streams do get a lot of views, and that's kind of what we.
It's because you're a live stream channel, so people kind of tune in to interact and engage and stuff. When I do a live stream, they're not quite as popular. I have to promote them a lot just to get any views, and even still, it's you still got a fair number.
Yeah,
I'm trying to see what
this channel and the Great Debate Community and the NonSequitur Show primarily are live channels, which is a different thing altogether for the most part.
Answers in Genesis, by the way, guys.
That's in September.
Yeah, I just want to go ahead and throw this out there. The biologist there at the Ark, Dr. Nathaniel Jensen, we finally got, after some working back and forth, we finally got a date set, and he has agreed and is good to go. So he will be having a discussion with Dr. Herman Mays on some things that are in Dr. Jensen's book about Darwinism. That's going to be September the 5th at 8:00. So we are actually bringing someone from the Ark onto the show, which is very exciting.
How awesome is that?
Yeah.
So we have a lot of things
one way away, but hopefully it still pans out.
And by the way, I do appreciate people have been suggesting things to me left and right, and hopefully a few of the things that people have suggested to me will pan out. So
after the events with Paul and AIG, I'm hoping that nobody at AIG watches our channel.
I'm actually talking with a couple of other atheist YouTubers about making a trip down there at some point.
Oh yes,
To Dallas, Texas.
No, the Creation Museum.
Oh, where in Kentucky?
I think it's in Kentucky.
It is.
God, I would love to do that, but the problem is I swear to God, I'd be laughing so hard.
The problem is that like the group. So I'm wanting to do it with Telltale Atheist, Godless Engineer, and Caitlin Chloe, Drew from Genetically Modified Skeptic, and like we might get some others in there, but like I want to go in and like actually shoot kind of a bit of a prank video. And it's been on my Patreon thing as a reward for a while, and I just haven't had a cameraman to do it. But I want to dress up in a devil outfit and have like a little basket of fruit and just be handing out like, you know.
You'd be kicked out in a second, like 5 seconds.
Oh yeah, no, of course I would. I'd kind of tour it first, and I'd have like I'd slip into the bathroom and like change, and then just like hand it out for as long as I can, get as much footage as I can, and then get clips of me getting kicked out. And at the very least, if I have different camera angles and stuff, I get a decent amount of footage.
I so want to do some live stuff. Unfortunately,
that's fantastic.
I was going to do some live man on the street type stuff with. Kind of flaked out on me a little bit, which is unfortunate. But I would be. God, do I want to do stuff like that?
No, just like a red, like a skin tight red suit with like a tail and horns, a pitchfork.
All right, now you're just getting kind of excited.
You have to do this.
You just want to see me in a red skin tight.
Argument from queerness.
Be in tight red.
Yeah, you know what?
Priority straight. Okay, I know this is for the video first, but I will appreciate the artistic value.
Yeah, holy Koolaid and tie not to be used in the same sentence.
I can always dye them red with Kool-Aid.
Okay, with that, guys.
So I was speaking of dying with Kool-Aid though, real quick. Aside from Jim Jones, when I first started Holy Koolaid, it used to be that when you would search for Holy Koolaid in the search bar of YouTube, the first things that came up that I had to compete with were there was like a girl who had tutorials on how to dye your hair using Kool-Aid.
I have done that actually.
What?
I have done that once, yeah. And it was I was in a fraternity in college, so you know you go through the whole process of pledging and
hazing.
Yeah, there were some. Well, we were not allowed to use that. That was a yeah.
But was it blue or purple, Kyle? Was it blue or purple?
To show how committed that I was to this fraternity, I completely volunteered of my own will and have no influence from any brothers in any
or alcohol.
Way. But I had, I believe I had grape in that tropical punch kind. They meant to do like half and half, but it wound up like the right side of my face was literally red and purple for like a day after. Like you could not get that off of your. It looked like I had been like bitch slapped upside the face like bad. I just had this big purple spot on the side of my face, but it works. It does work. You can dye your hair with Kool-Aid. That is true.
Good to know. If I'm ever in a pinch and I need to pretend to be a Smurf.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
All right. So tomorrow, I guess, what is it called? Hell yeah, hell no. Plain Truth versus Christian Anarchist, right? Is that the name of the thing tomorrow, Kyle?
You're totally selling it now, Steve. Keep going.
All right. Let's do it tomorrow.
Totally selling it.
There's a thing at a place somewhere sometime.
Yeah, something tomorrow, something with certain people on the NonSequitur show. Be there.
8 o'clock.
It's mysterious.
8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, EDT.
It's like it's called Hell Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell Your show is divine because, like God, you work in mysterious ways.
Yeah. Do.